Hello, good evening, Wakefield. I call to order this meeting of September 22nd at 7:05. I ask everyone to raise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 3 is attendance. All my colleagues are here today in attendance. Moving on to item number 4. Anyone for public participation online, Sherry?
There is no one tonight.
Okay, and no one in the studio for public participation. Item 5, voting matters. We are going to the Traffic Advisory Committee.
Hello folks, Renault, Town Engineer. I'm joined by Josh from VHB to discuss the Envision project first of our TAC pieces. So I think there should be a presentation for that. It was included in your packet and I think will get put up for us.
Bill, is that it behind you?
That's not it.
Okay.
No.
Bill, WCAT doesn't have it, but I can send that to them if you just want to get started. All the councils have it, and it's in the meeting material online for the public as well, but WCAT doesn't have it.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, we can start out. So this is kind of phase 2 of our Envision Wakefield update program here. So this is for the section of Main Street between Princess and the Town Common. So basically, as you folks know, this has gone through a bunch of different comment periods and in several different meetings. So this is kind of getting us back into the swing of things on kind of where the project stands as we're advancing to 25% design. Aside from that, we've had some developments on funding with Mass DOT. So just before I jump into this, we'll talk about kind of where we are. So they have, MassDOT has asked us to separate the rail to trail from the other section of Envision. So they currently have that funded in 2030, fiscal 2030 on the tip. We also have a project on for fiscal 28, which would be one of the 2 downtown projects. And I'll kind of turn it over to Josh to start off with the kind of the presentation on this section of Envision.
Great. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
As Bill mentioned, my name is Josh Triarchis from VHB. I'll do my best without the screen to point to, but so quick agenda for topics we're going to cover. I'll do a brief overview of the project, where the current project limits are, touch upon the project goals, go through the design process, what we've been working on, and then touch on our upcoming schedule and next steps for the project. And then finish with any questions. So the project limits, which would be the color sheet in your packet. This should look familiar. It's essentially very similar to what has been presented in the past, but the project limits for this portion of the project would be from the lake up to Water Street. In general, the project includes bicycle and pedestrian improvements, which includes one-way bike lanes on each side of Main Street, pedestrian sidewalk improvements, crosswalks that are being reduced to improve pedestrian safety. Parking, we are trying to keep as much parking as we possibly can in the area. Traffic patterns are generally being maintained as they currently are today. One small change would be at Common Street that today works as a one-way. That would be maintained. However, the section directly next to the Rockery on the west side, that would be intended to be a raised parking area. So all traffic would take a left onto Lafayette Street and then a right onto Main Street. Again, this is more of a safety improvement just to try to eliminate the really tough stop and kind of yield control the way it works today. And then in terms of additional traffic improvements, there'll be
I'm confused about that. A left onto Lafayette and then a right. So you're getting rid. So you're essentially that is completely being blocked off there. The area in front of Town Hall.
Not in front of Town Hall, in front of Artichokes.
Right.
That section. So between the Rockery and Artichokes. So right now, traffic can continue down Common Street and go to Yale. And so during that whole process of kind of looking at parking in different pieces, we identified that as a spot for a new parking lot to increase parking for the area.
Thanks, Bill.
Yep.
Again, this is essentially the same design that we've had for a number of years now. And in terms of additional traffic improvements, the intersection at Salem Street and Church Street with Main Street will be reconstructed with a new traffic signal. Project goals. One of the main project goals is to improve circulation and accessibility, create pedestrian-focused streetscape, enhance the cultural identity of the downtown, improve safety for both pedestrians, vehicular, and bicycle users, and then improve or at least maintain as much of the parking capacity and the occupancy within the downtown area. For an update on the design process, as part of the project, one of the things we need to do, as Bill mentioned, this project is looking to be programmed on the tip. As part of that, we have to go through Mass DOT for all our design reviews. As part of their process, in the early, what's called the pre-25% or preliminary investigations, we have to look at what's called intersection control evaluation. And essentially, we look at each of the intersections for the project and evaluate different types of intersection controls, which would be either a roundabout, traffic signal, stop control, and essentially work out what is the best based on both capacity of the intersection from a traffic standpoint, as well as safety and a number of other factors. As part of that process, we looked at 3 of the intersections within this, which includes Chestnut Street at Main Street, Lafayette at Main Street, and then the Church Salem Street at Main Street. So touching upon that, one of the options we did look at for each of these intersections was to look at roundabouts. Taking a closer look at this concept shown in the package that was sent to you, ultimately these were not considered favorable, mostly because of the impacts and the larger size. The roundabout at Center Street and Chestnut Street had significant parking impacts, so that was ultimately not, it had a little bit better safety, but because of the parking impacts, it would be maintained as a stop control. And then as well at Lafayette at Crescent Street, there's significant impacts to the park area as well as abutting properties. So ultimately that was maintained as a stop control. And then at the existing signal at Church Street and Salem Street, given the complex geometry of that intersection, we looked at using a double roundabout. And again, because of the significant impacts to the lower common, as well as some other private property impacts, it ultimately was not considered as a feasible solution. So, as mentioned, the intersection at Chestnut and Center Street, maintained as is, stop control of the side streets. Same with Lafayette and Crescent Street, and then traffic signal reconstructed at Salem and Church Street. One other thing that we looked at, and working with Bill and his team, is...
You probably want to jump back
Nope.
on the slide here. We talked about the not feasible solutions, but
Yep.
I think we want to talk about the second bullet. Significant the impacts for.
Yeah, I meant, I kind of pulled that together with this, but yes, because of these, there's significant impacts to the right-of-way, including some of the park land, which does have some significant Article 97 land impacts.
Okay, so that's just related to the roundabouts?
Yeah.
Okay, just to make sure that's clear to everybody.
One of the other options that we looked at is at the Upper Common, and as we were talking a little bit earlier about the Common Street traffic movements, one option we looked at was to maintain all traffic to stay on Church Street and then take a right onto Main Street rather than using Common Street. This would allow Lafayette Street to essentially be a one-way heading towards Town Hall. We looked at this, we studied the traffic analysis for it. In order to do this, a right turn lane would have to be added along Church Street to make the right onto Main Street. Given some of the larger turning vehicles, for whether it be fire trucks or some larger trucks, a slip lane would need to be created in order to do that. This created some pretty significant impacts to the Upper Common, as well as the loss of some of the larger mature trees. And then from a traffic modeling standpoint, during peak hours in either the evening or the morning commute times, the queues actually at that signal, given, again, the extra traffic added to that signal, would back up all the way up towards Lake Street and the Common Street intersection. So ultimately, this was not determined to be a favorable solution. So traffic will be looking to maintain as it does today, going down Common Street, but with that minor change to move on to Lafayette. This next sheet shown is the Common Street. Again, this is a little bit of a blow up of what we were talking about earlier, with traffic coming down Common Street, taking the left onto Lafayette, and then the right onto Main Street to continue down Main Street. Some of the changes we made here since the previous time that this was presented, we added some additional parking spaces on Common Street. Again, this would look to be a raised geometry, so whether it's concrete or a colored pavement, that would make it look like more of a parking area and not necessarily a throughway for traffic. To add some visual aesthetics through here, we create some larger areas for some landscape plantings. The shared use path was relocated to be on the east side of the rockery and ultimately line up a little bit better with what is in the upper common where the paths are there today, so that bicycle and pedestrian traffic continue along the side of the street heading down on Main Street. And then the one-way bike lanes that would begin heading to the south of Yale Street, those would both begin at Yale Street, where previously the bike lane was continued up to Crescent Street. So this allows for a little bit more room for some additional parking in the Main Street stretch around Rockery and on Common Street. And then back at the Upper Common, minor change from previous presentations would be to add a sidewalk on what's the south side of Church Street along the edge of the Upper Common. Essentially, this is within the town right away, so this would not be an Article 97 impact, and it would have no impact to the trees like the right turn lane did, but this would add some pedestrian access. Again, as part of Mass DOT's Complete Streets policies, a sidewalk is required on both sides of the street, so this is something we're looking to add in.
Is that on the lake side of
the
Church?
opposite side,
And the upper common side.
the common side.
Okay.
So there's a sidewalk already on the lake side, so that would be widened to be a shared use path for bicycles and pedestrians.
How wide would that shared use path
Be
be?
10 feet wide.
10, okay.
I think today it's a 5 or 6 foot sidewalk.
Yeah, it's a little narrower.
Yeah.
Can I, sorry, just before you move from that,
Sure.
can I just ask, there's a note on impacts to the lower common will require Article 97 legislation. Is that the case with the design update, or was that referring back to that
That's just
weird,
referring-
like, figure eight rotary?
So with our design, so the way this has always been designed, there'll always be some impacts, but it's minor in nature, where it's a small sliver, not a major impact. So it's something that we think could be permitted, working with the executive office.
When you say a small sliver, just rough magnitude of what we're talking about? I'm sorry, it's been a while since we had looked at.
I don't have the number off the top of my head, but you can see it's essentially where we have to widen for the shade use path up to that crosswalk. There's a small, almost where the arrow's pointing.
Okay,
So
so
it
it's that
wouldn't-
like very
Yeah.
small triangular
Yes.
shape there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really where there's a lot of kind of worn down dirt
Correct.
right now.
That, and then as you're on Church Street itself, we're in front of all the trees that are there,
Yep.
so just to give you kind of order of magnitude.
Okay,
That would be-
okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Yep.
And what is Article 97 legislation? Because I don't know.
Oh, sure. So Article 97 basically protects all open space. So it's related to certain types of open space, commons, conservation land, any of those types of things. We had kind of similar situation with the energy park, if you folks remember that. That went through the whole Article 97 process. So there's a Conservation Commission review, and they, hopefully provide their blessing on moving forward with it. Typically, they'll look for some type of offset somewhere, so we'd come up with some type of offset to make that work.
Sure.
Yep. And then,
Like with the energy park.
Yep, it's the same idea, exactly. And then what we'd do is, and then we would, petition to the legislature, state legislature. Typically, they do one, I want to say they do one, I think one law that kind of incorporates all of them for the state. So there's some due diligence that we have to do, but we'd be talking about that, in the years to come.
Thank you.
Yep.
So speaking of things to come for next steps for our design coordination, One of the first steps we're looking to do is begin the right-of-way process. As Bill was actually just mentioning for Article 97, it's a lengthy process, so starting to look at where the impacts are, and working with Mass DOT and the Executive Office of Energy Environmental Affairs, which is who handles the Article 97 process. Next, we'll be working on our 25% design submission, which we're in process of right now. We will be looking to have a design public input meeting in October, so in the next few weeks.
I think we were saying October, November.
Yeah.
With the last one,
Yeah.
just to give us some time to coordinate it.
And then shortly after that meeting is held, we'd be looking to submit our 25% submission, taking into account any feedback we receive. After that, Mass DOT would have a 90-day review period, and then we would hold an additional design public hearing to present the full process based on Mass DOT's comments, as well as what was received at the last meeting. And that would be looking to be held sometime in March, April of 2026. Additional next steps, as Bill mentioned, he's been working with Mass DOT and the MPO to get the project funded, so working between this and the other half of the project to get the project funded in the years to come. So overall schedule for the project, what we're looking at would be our 25% design this fall in October and November, design public hearing in the spring of 26, our what's called our 75% design, and filing our environmental permits would be in the winter of 2026 or the spring of 2027. Ultimately submitting our 100% in our final bid package in the winter of 2027, and advertising for the project in the fall of 2028. So that's when ideally it would be going out to construction, potentially fall of 2028 or spring of 2029.
So how much of the lake gets the 10-foot wide shared use path? Does this
Yep.
piece talk to other pieces of the lake that either already have a wide shared use or that are being developed?
No, I would say no. I mean, it's really Church Street, the Church Street section, and then the intersection at Salem. That's it. So right now, if you want to think about where the, if you're on Main Street, where the kind of worn out area is, like Councilor Chines was mentioning, that's basically the impact of where it would go. So we're just going to the limit of this project. It doesn't continue down Main Street. That will be a much longer conversation based on where we were with the bike and ped plan. So I would expect that to be a much longer discussion, but outside of this project. We just allowed a tie-in if that was the determination down the road.
How would the bikes get onto that new shared use path if you're heading southbound on Main Street?
We'd have an access point.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to think about, though. You have this 10-foot, and then at some point it's going to get narrow again, and then I'm sure down at the basin it'll be wide, and then it's wide on North Ave. It's, it's a little
Unfortunately, it's kind of how you have to
patchy.
build these,
Yeah.
because we can't afford to build everything, unfortunately. And, again, the bike accommodations are a requirement for the funding. So, I mean, obviously, these are big dollars we're talking about. Each phase is over $25 million. So for us to try to fund this locally would be a very big challenge. Obviously, we wouldn't do to the level of changes, but, if it was ever determined that we don't want to move forward with the project, that would be something else to discuss. But, we could look at limits and tweaking where the limits are. That might be another option that comes down, because we also are including Lake and Spalding as part of this. So there's some changes for parking along Spalding and paving and repaving Lake as well. So whether Mass DOT keeps that in the project, that might get pulled out. I would anticipate that they would. But right now we have it still in, and they've allowed that to be within the limit of the work. So.
Councilor Chines?
Thank you. So thank you very much for the update. I really appreciate, kind of the refresher on the designs. It's been a while since we've looked at these.
It's been
And,
a while.
I do think if we can achieve all of this, I think it is a net positive for, the accessibility downtown. We've put a premium on kind of maintaining or expanding parking, which is great. I also think, quite frankly, the aesthetics downtown will be a lot better. I think, kind of the narrowing of Main Street to allow for more pedestrian access and more street life, I think is a really, we're going to talk about economic development later, and I actually think that would be a big plus for Main Street. So the concern and the questions that I want to ask are related to the funding, right? So, we talked last time you were here about the other part of Main Street and Water Street being on the tip list for fiscal 2028,
Yep.
the rail trail for fiscal 2030.
Yep.
I see a project schedule in here that seems to assume that we'll get kind of approved for the tip the TIP project for fiscal 2028,
Well, we'll be ready.
we'll be
So-
ready.
so-
I guess though, that's what I want to ask though,
sure.
is what do we, I think, I'm looking at the schedule and it feels like this is a schedule that's only achievable if all the stars kind of line up in terms of funding. And
I would agree
I
with that.
don't have the confidence that the stars are going to line up for funding anytime in the next couple of years. And so, you know, when we do submit the 25% design document to MassDOT, you know, if they come back and say to us, you know, this is fiscal 2031, like we're effectively, you know, everything from kind of the 75% phase on sort of gets pushed off by whatever that time period is.
And funding too. So keep in mind,
Yeah.
not just funding for the project, but funding for the design. So I had
Mhm.
mentioned at the last meeting that we have an earmark for $500,000 that would be applied for once they're done with their 25% design to get them to 75% design.
Mhm.
We would still be coming back to town meeting at some point for that last, going from 75 PS&E and construction, which is, we're thinking about another $500,000 or so.
Mhm.
So that would be down the road. But
Got
at this point, you know, we're funded for the other section, based on comments that I've had from
Which is
MassDOT,
great.
which is great, and you funded it through ARPA
Yep.
as a board, so we appreciate all of that.
Yeah, so I want to be, I want to make sure the public understands that, you know, I mean, fall of 2028 or spring of 2029 is under the assumption that we secure state funding and
Yes.
federal funding that we do not currently have.
Correct.
And I certainly hope we do have it, and, you know, if that funding comes in 2030 instead of 2028, I think that's great. I mean, 2028 would be better, 2027 would be better, but I just want to make sure that we're all clear on the timing that we're talking about. And I also think, you know, if we do have additional funds to commit to getting from the 75 to 100% design, I'm assuming that we wouldn't go to town meeting and ask for those funds until we knew we were on the TIP list.
Yeah, and I've discussed that with the MPO as well, and basically with everyone, all the decision makers at the state. So, you know, since I was here, I had another meeting with them all to talk about this. That's where the update on the rails to trail came
Got
from.
it.
So, you know, they're committed to funding it all. I mean, that is happening, but keep in mind, this is an annual review. So, you know, they look at where funding comes in, where projects are for readiness. So there's a whole slew of things, and they reevaluate it every year. So we want to show progress. That's the most important thing we can do for us to stay on for 2028, at least for the other section, and then obviously with the rail to trail too. So.
No, absolutely. Again, you know, ideal state is another community is not ready and gets bumped off the list for 28, so we can
Yeah.
move forward.
We are
believe
asking,
me.
and the
But,
project's big enough that they have to plan. So I don't see this at a scale that something slides and then we just pump right in, because, I mean, we're gonna be asking for $25 million, today's dollars.
Yeah.
Obviously that escalates up. We're probably gonna be in the 30s by the time that we're talking about actually getting on the tip. And, you know, those are sizable projects. So, you know, but they've committed that if we get there, that they'll look to fund it, so.
Is there anything, sorry, one other question, is there anything anything else that we as a town can do, or any support the town council can give you?
Yep.
You know, to kind of help move some of these requests forward for funding? I mean, I think,
Certainly.
you know, I know you're meeting with them regularly, and I think that's great, and I'm sure you're doing a great job, but
Yep.
what else can we do to make the case to
So the
get
way
these
that I've
funds
done
dedicated?
it, so the way I've done these in the past is when things don't go the way we want them to go, that's when I would tag you folks in.
Okay.
So that's typically how we've done it. Our consultant will go typically to the annual MPO meetings or whenever they have them for amendments. I'll typically go to, you know, probably half of those. And, you know, if anything's changing that relates to us, that's when we want to chime in. So right now, we're committed to 28 and 30, so as long as those stay on, I'd hope not to ask for some support on this from you folks, because I think we'd already have it at the state level. But there's been times in my experience where it's changed and the goal line's moved right at the end, and that's when we really need to buckle down as a community to send a lot of information to the state that we're really ready
Absolutely.
for this project. And
Yeah,
it's
I
about
think
commitment level is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think also make sure we're engaged with our legislative delegation too. if
Obviously,
we need
yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Counselor Carney?
Yeah, as you all are aware, I had a concern about both the Chamber of Commerce as well as the Economic Council at the last meeting. We had Sonny Nolan come up, and he was kind of surprised that he had a discussion with us. So I stopped by Haas Hardware and I talked to the, obviously, Lenny's son. He was concerned. So I'm set up a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce. I talked to the Chamber of Commerce. They have some concerns. And again, initially, this is not the whole Chamber of Commerce, but this is the leadership. So I think some of our communications has missed the boat along the way, and I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying the fact that sometimes we're talking in this direction, and people aren't listening, or it's 5 years down the line, so they're not looking that far down the line. But that my major concern is, are the businesses downtown engaged? Are they in favor of this? Because we don't have a lot of businesses, we have a lot of vacancies. And Doug brought it up at the last meeting, and I kept on thinking about it. I take Main Street going north, excuse me, and taking a right on Water Street a number of times. And at different points in the day, the parking lot in front of the dance studio is pretty busy. People have been dropping off. In fact, when I was there for the opening of a new business last week, there are people parked down in front of the Galvin, walking the young kids down there to get them dropped off. But I'm just picturing, and I think, Doug, you mentioned it, having parallel parking there and having people pull up, hoping a car behind them stops so they can back into a parking space on Main Street to drop a youngster off. Or even worse, when you take that corner onto Water Street and there's parallel parking there, that's a nightmare getting around that corner anyways. Tonight I was watching it, and if you know, there's a cut in there just after the dance studio. And if you're looking to take a right-hand turn there, but there are 3 cars going straight, you can't take that right-hand turn until they move forward. So now you're going around the corner, and just get around the corner, 2 cars get around the corner, and I'm sitting and I'm waiting, I'm trying to back into a parallel parking space. I think that is a negative, but I want the chamber to speak for itself.
Of course, yeah, so we're
and-
meeting, right? So we'll be meeting on Wednesday with the chamber, Councilor Connie, myself. So obviously, we'll try to address all of these concerns. That's what we try to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, John, for setting up those meetings. So I think a couple of things just to go on that. One, I think, when for this project, the design public hearing, make sure we do outreach about those businesses
Yes,
and
sure.
people that live down there, and I think we have dropped the ball a little bit, so be more explicit about that for
Fair
this project. I also think, Bill, I'm looking at you directly and looking at your team members behind you, but we have a new town administrator starting, and so to think about who she should be at meetings with, who we should be introducing her. I know she doesn't need to go to every single meeting that you go to, but I'd love for her to be introduced with our consultants, and the delegation is a good point, Jonathan. We should set those up. But I think for all of you, like the relationships you have are so key, but I think those first couple, get some of those meetings on the calendar so Dee can hit the ground running, just that. And then just to echo what I think both Jonathan and John said, is that we've been discussing this revision project for a long time. So when we have the public hearing, I think there's just going to have to be a lot of, this was discussed 5 years ago, seems like an eon.
Yeah,
And so I think, think about what other tools, WCAT is great. We have a great new website. I think it can't just be one public hearing, and to think about what other education tools we're doing. I don't think what we've done in the past has worked. And so and we're happy, I think when Jonathan says that, like, we're also happy to work with you guys on that, because I don't want anyone to get caught off guard. Not that we're going to get everyone on board,
Of course not.
but I think to do more than we've done in the past is just kind of what we're asking.
Yeah, so Jim McDonald and I have been talking about that, actually, because you brought it up at the last meeting as well. So, we're going to have some meetings this week to talk about kind of the online presence for the project, kind of making sure all these presentations are there, because some of the other meetings, highlighting the videos from before. So we're trying to roll all that stuff into a more streamlined piece on the website. I mean, if you remember, this predates Jen, some of those meetings. I think she was here on the tail end of those initial meetings with VHB. So it definitely makes sense to start evaluating it. So
That's great. Thank you. And so just my last question, what exactly is the vote that you're asking of us today?
I'm not necessarily looking for a vote. This is more of an update.
This was an update.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, Doug,
No, it's
just
fine.
one more thing. So as you're the now liaison kind of to traffic advisory, this
Sure.
was presented to them
It was.
last week. Any concerns that you heard from traffic advisory?
The only point was, Councilor Carney was on that, as well. He's the liaison to the board, or to the committee. So, similar comments that he had today, and obviously we've been trying to work, since he had that, those comments, we've been trying to work with the chamber to get a meeting. Ideally, it would have happened before today. We tried to get it for last week and just schedules didn't align, so we'll be meeting on Wednesday to hopefully start, getting the word out.
Okay, great. Councilor Butler.
Sure. So, one thing I'm trying to get my hands around is, and I don't know if we voted on it or if you updated us on it and said you were looking to get approval. You did the Main Street to sort of Water Street, and then we're doing this piece where, you're saving the downtown Main Street till the end. I think
No, I wouldn't know if I'd say that. So what it is, the project was just too large as one
right.
big
It's
project.
three
Yeah.
different blocks,
Yeah.
but again, I wasn't sure if I thought we were potentially voting to say go ahead and move this forward, and I'm like, this probably of all of the three of them is among my favorite of the bunch of them. I think I'm a little concerned. I'm just in general concerned with the narrowing of Main Street because of and coming from the south, but also in the morning coming from the north, it already is busy. I think you're going to have in pretty sizable backups along that not Crescent Street, but along Main Street and along Vernon Street, coming from sort of move from Dolbear into the Galvin area. I think in just the morning commute becomes tougher going that way. I think one of the reasons why I would struggle with this is I'm not sure that I'm ever going to be able to get on board with the parallel parking downtown, in the heart of downtown, which probably puts the bike lane at risk, puts all of those things at risk. So while this, and I'm a little how are we doing, somebody going north on the bike lane's going to end at Yale, and then where's it going to go into?
It goes across the street and then ties into the upper common path, the large upper common path.
Okay.
Yep. And we have a section in front of the Rockery that would be a shared use path as well. So the intent is to kind of have that, the path from the upper common continue into Main Street, and then we cross at Yale to split.
Okay. And then just in terms of thinking, Jonathan was talking about cost, and we've got potentially 500,000 to get us from 25 to 75.
Yep.
And then every construction project to get you from 75 to 100 is another 500,000.
Yeah, about
pretty
that's
much
what the cost is to get
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is nice. I can't live with the. I don't love the one up to Water Street. This is probably the best of the three.
We could also look at, if there's a preference between the two. I mean, they're about the same amount of money. I mean, it's the amount of money on the tip. So, if we want to push to have the downtown be the priority, I mean, we can do that if that's what the council would prefer. That's definitely an option. If that's,
No, I think, and then that's the other thing that I really want to make clear, both to the council and to the people and to yourselves. Again, I know you've been at this for 5 years.
Sure.
That doesn't matter to me right now, and
Okay.
it doesn't matter to the town. Maybe it was a different council that voted on it. It was a different set of priorities for the
The
people.
council's never actually voted on this. This has
Oh,
all
okay.
been public comment.
Fine. So it was a different body of politic that both in the town and on here that was very much pushing for this.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. This doesn't feel like it's providing us dramatic positive change for our downtown. So I guess that's why I'm, do I want to spend $100 million on what I think is going to be a non-issue, other than maybe creating some additional traffic headaches? No, I don't.
Councilor Chrisley.
I'd just like to thank you for the refreshing update, Bill. I think the bones of this plan are excellent. I think as Councilor Chines mentioned, I think the streetscape improvements are going to be a safety improvement and an aesthetic improvement. I would think this is like a generational improvement for the town of Wakefield. So I thank you for all the work you've done in there. I would ask if there's a meeting you're having with the Chamber of Commerce, I'm the liaison to Public Works, I'd like to be included in that notification.
Okay, so it's planned for Wednesday at 3:30. I can get you a link.
Okay, okay.
Or
But again,
if you want to meet at Town Hall, I think Councilor Carney will be there in Town
Okay.
Hall, so.
yeah, but and the only other thing I would add on the parallel parking issue, I just happened to be at Hart's Hardware this Saturday. I actually think that the parallel parking is safer in the front of like Hart's Hardware, because I had people honking at me because you're blind. When you're backing up out of that angled parking, you're backing up blind. If there's a bigger vehicle next to you, you can't see around there. So I understand businesses that will have obviously legitimate concerns about those kind of streets changes, but I think the parallel parking in previous discussions was identified as a safety improvement. And
Yeah.
reducing
Parallel
crashes.
parking on Main Street and not Water Street, or is it on both?
It's on both. Yeah, Water Street was for a small sec. We don't have a ton of angle parking. This is just basically in front of those couple of businesses, but we do have we had to conduct a road safety audit as we have crash clusters in this whole area. So that was done by VHB back in, do you remember?
2018?
2018 or so, yeah.
Somewhere.
So as a requirement, you have to do these, what they call a road safety audit, looking at where the clusters are, what type of improvement would make sense. So
Yeah.
I was a part of that walk. Former town administrator Mayo was. I think a couple of councilors were as well. So it was a pretty robust kind of site walk with Mass DOT and everybody to kind of come up with ideas on what we think would remedy the problems. A lot of what the concerns were folks backing out of the angle parking. So, I understand both points of view. I don't think either is right or wrong necessarily. But, I think what we have to also understand is if we want the funding, we have to make these changes. So, sections that we have angle parking, we're able to do it because you can safely back out of those and not be in the travel lane. And we can pavement mark it so
Right,
that
right.
you have that pull-out area.
Yeah.
That's why the ones that are staying, because we have enough right-of-way width. In sections where we don't, that's when you're seeing the changes to the parallel parking.
And I think in simple terms, if I'm parallel parked in front of Hart's Hardware, I can look in my side view mirror and I can see vehicles approaching from the intersection. If you're angle parked in front of Hart's Hardware currently, in many cases, you're pulling out blind. So
Yep.
I think that's a good safety improvement, but needs to be communicated regularly to the people affected.
Counselor Butler.
The only thing that I would sort of hasten is, and I understand, like, if we want to do this, the only way to pay for it is to do it with the bike lane and I think that that's sort of not presenting us with a false choice. It's, if we don't do the bike lane, we're not doing this. We're not like,
Yes.
we're not putting all of these changes into Main Street and downtown, for good or for bad. I mean, I'm not, well, I am advocating obviously one way, but but I don't think it's the choice that we're going to spend $100 million or $50 million, or the state's going to pick up the tab. Either the state's going to pick up the tab or we're not doing it. I
It
mean,
would
I
be a
think
much
that's-
different project, yeah.
That's the clear way.
I don't think there's disagreement about that. Yeah.
And I think, as thinking about the communication strategy, I'm not sure that has always been clear.
Okay.
That we're talking about, getting state and federal funding. We've put taxpayer dollars into this. I mean, 2 different town meetings voted to appropriate money for the design for this. So we've spent about $1 million on these designs.
And two, if you consider ARPA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have put dollars into getting us to the place where we can apply for these funds. But I think, one salient point that we really have to make sure is clear in the communication is that the only way any of these changes happen is if we get state funds to support it. And that those funds will come with strings, including, bike accommodations, accommodations for safety concerns states identified in their road standards, so that we don't really have a blank slate. We have a set of parameters that we have to operate under, and I think that's the choice that, the town will have to make.
Yeah. And I think that's it in a nutshell, honestly.
Counselor Carney.
I want to agree with you, Jonathan. The issue here is the fact that if we're not gonna be happy, and the townspeople are not gonna be happy with these changes, then we're just not gonna get the money. So it's two ways of looking at that. All
Well,
right?
I think there's
So,
three.
well, give me the third one, because I think we put a blur up there. The fact that I'm talking to downtown businesses, and actually after, the Sonny Nonos brought it up, I just said to him, they must know. So I went down to Haas Hardware, and he was, yeah, I've been telling everybody. And one of the questions I want to ask the Chamber of Commerce, who has he been telling?
I mean, there were
Because
folks at
people
the
didn't
public
know
meetings.
that they were concerned about it. So we were talking about it, but we weren't listening.
So if I, just to, I think, put some context in. So this has gone through, there have been, there were back, I'm thinking 2017, 18, 19.
Yeah, there were-
There were probably a dozen.
I have the
public
list.
meetings about this.
How many are there?
We had
10?
4 public meetings, 4 focus group workshops, 2 by committee meetings, 2 town meetings, and traffic advisory committee
Yeah.
meetings.
So this
About
is-
a dozen.
Yeah.
Yeah, about a dozen.
So, and I think, obviously a lot of times happened since then. COVID's happened since then, but the designs that were brought forth at that point have evolved. So I think the original design, as an example, on Main Street had parallel parking on both sides of the street.
All the way down.
The whole way.
All the way down on both sides. That was something that, they changed the design to accommodate based on public feedback, based on business feedback. And so I think ultimately when we get to a final plan, like it will be a binary choice of if the state funds it, and that is an if, do we move ahead with what they expect or not? But I think that there are accommodations and design choices that can be made in the meantime that sort of mitigate some of the public concern within the confines of what the state requires. And I do think that VHB has done a good job of kind of accommodating those, at least as we go back, kind of in the way back machine to 5 years ago.
Yes.
There'll be more feedback, and there should be, and we want to make sure that we hear what people have to say. And I think there'll be some tweaks and design choices that we need to make there. But I think that's what I mean by the third way is I think we can get to a place where we are responsive to that feedback. I'm hopeful that we can get to a place where we're responsive to that feedback in a way that still hews to the requirements the state gives us, and that they actually give us the money to do something.
And my only concern is the fact that you were asking, what else can we do to kind of expedite this? Well, wait a minute, hold it. I don't want to expedite anything until I'm confident that we're doing the right thing. I want everybody to be on the same page before we say, hey, we're putting our effort in front of it. And if the Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Council come up in favor, and they're in favor of this, they may change my mind. I'll be the first one to say that, and you can call me on that, okay? So maybe, who am I to judge, all right? But I'd like their input to make sure they all know about it and exactly what the impact is. And to what John said earlier, John, it's safer for bicyclists. That's what it's safer. If I do parallel parking in front of Hart's Hardware, it's safer for the bicycles going by me. But I'm not sure like you do on the highways, you'll be able to have a 4-foot clearance there. Because if I open my door, someone's going to end up in my front seat.
I was in a car, John. I wasn't on my bike. I'm talking about being it safe for the drivers, the customers coming up in front
God
of the
bless
stores.
you.
So all great things to talk about the public hearing.
Looking forward
And
to it.
also, Bill is always available if anyone wants to learn more about this, if you weren't here for the whole process or you forget what we talked about in 2017 or 2018. So anything else on the Envision project? Councilor
I'll
Fox?
just say I attended at least 3 or 4 of the original meetings.
Sure.
They were lightly attended. I'm hoping that, but I think the loudest people were the ones who didn't go. Obviously, the
Oh,
ones
okay.
that will.
Well, that's not good.
The
You want them
ones who will hear about it after the fact. So
Yeah.
I think it's really important to get that on the website or the other communication methods out there.
Sure.
There'll always be some stragglers that will say they didn't hear anything despite all those meetings you listed.
Yeah.
And I attended quite a few of them myself. So whatever is done, the more information that can go out there, the better,
Appreciate that. Yeah.
hopefully. Because you guys did a great job so far, but you can't make people read it.
If we could, things would be a lot easier. All right, are we all set with Envision?
I think so. I think we're good with Envision. Let's move on. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Josh.
Moving on to 5A2.
Okay, so Melrose Ave and Oak Street. So we received a request from the neighbors on Melrose Ave for no parking here to corner on the private way. So Melrose Ave is a private way. So obviously we can't be restricting parking all the way down on Melrose Ave, but it's a pretty narrow street today. So they came to the Traffic Advisory Committee to really look at the no parking here to corner on the street itself. So there's a little bit of a kind of a resident parking area on Oak that is used by a few neighbors. But this is just for on-street parking right by the intersection. So folks, not sure who it is, but somebody is parking essentially right at the intersection. So cars trying to pull in from Oak Street have a problem. Cars trying to pull out of Melrose have a problem seeing on the traffic on Oak. So we evaluated it, came up with a solution where we would no park to the back of the Oak Street right-of-way, so that intersection that's there, and then presented that at the Traffic Advisory Committee, got consensus from the neighborhood on this, so there really wasn't anybody opposing, and we would recommend you approve the no parking sign.
So the person who parks on the corner didn't come and say, oh,
No, they
that's my
did.
spot.
Oh, they did.
Oh,
No, they were there.
But
Yep.
but was not opposed to this proposal?
No, because we're not saying that, they're not saying you can't park on that side of the street or even park on the road. They didn't even want to restrict it all the way up. It's just literally at the corner because it's a problem for them trying to pull in and pull out of Melrose Ave. So the resident that was actually parking there was there, talked, discussed it, and didn't have a concern.
Counselor
And
Jones?
we actually went through and flyered every person. So it's one of the things that we started doing with the Traffic Advisory Committee now. Things that are going to impact streets and neighborhoods, we're making sure everybody knows about it. We want to have a flyer that goes out to everybody there so they can provide their feedback, make sure that they know about it.
So Melrose Ave is a private way, so
is.
we're literally saying there's no parking on the stub of Melrose Ave that is within the Oak Street right-of-way that the town owns?
Yeah, it's not a stub. It goes back about 12 feet or so.
Okay,
So, yeah.
but that's why this is our issue and not
Yep.
the residents' issue, because we're
Right.
talking about the small section of Melrose Ave that
Sure.
is within the public domain.
Yeah, exactly. And anything
Okay.
beyond that will be up to the neighborhood to decide and figure what they would want to erect for signs. But the
Gotcha.
stuff that we can handle, police also agreed, and we all thought it made sense.
Okay, thanks.
Counselor Carney?
I was in that discussion, and we discussed it with the residents there, and I thought it was a good, open discussion.
Yeah, that was good. And we got to consensus, which is always great. So.
Counselor Butler?
Yeah, so I did the Google Maps of it. I didn't go to the meeting. The area where the complaint is that like that little gravel section there?
No, so that's going to remain. That's
That's gonna
fine. So
remain, that's fine?
Yeah, they said they're good with the site distance there. What they have the problem with is folks on the roadway itself, because as they're trying to pull in, if the car's parked too close to the intersection, they can't navigate if there's a car coming towards them, and they've had a couple of near misses. And they said when people are pulling out, they have a problem as well. So it's really just in the paved section. They were very clear on that at the meeting.
I mean, I gotta say, looking at the road, there's nobody who could park in between 125 Oak. Like, I don't know that there's space for a car there between them and their driveway. Maybe there is.
Yeah, the
But
only-
this feels like sign pollution. You want to talk about sign pollution. This feels like we're putting up signs for, this seems like a silly sign to put up, but I understand that the residents all clamored for it, but it just feels like it's a non-issue. I mean, I guess it's a non-issue to put up a couple of signs as well, but this feels like, especially if I thought this was to kill the person parking on the gravel there.
No, we try to accommodate that with the sidewalk project we did there. And talk to those folks about it to make sure that they could still use their parking area.
Especially on the side where the house is on the corner. This doesn't feel like there's any place for somebody to park. It feels like, I mean,
We've been told it's been used as a parking spot before. We've been told that the area on the other side, really, it's on the gravel side, is where the parking happens. So they just want to push it back further into Melrose Ave, and this sign would accomplish that.
and I'll take
Counselor
take their
Chrisley?
word.
It seems to make a lot of common sense to me, Bill. I'm aware of a number of streets, even in my own neighborhood, that I'd like to see a no parking here to corner sign on, because it creates blind spots when people are trying to negotiate the intersection. So
Sure.
based on the feedback you provided and what the residents in that area wanted, it sounds like a reasonable proposal.
Great.
Anyone else? Counselor Fox?
So it's always the same person was parking in the spot?
I can't answer that question. I don't.
Well, it sounds like
know.
he knows he's the culprit,
Um,
so maybe he
or
won't
maybe
do it
they've
without a
used
sign.
it could have been with other folks. I mean, I'd assume there's one person that's doing it often.
Right.
But other folks have probably done it as well when they're having
I
like
mean, it's
an
such a
event.
small-looking street to
Oh,
begin with.
that's the problem.
I
because you
I
only-
can't imagine a car parking
Yeah,
on that roadway there.
yeah, it's tight.
Anything else? Okay, do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, move to approve the no parking here to corner signage for Melrose Avenue as presented.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, 7-0, thank you.
Great.
And item number 3.
I'm here. All right. Oak Street, Green Street, and Greenwood Ave. So this was a project that was identified through the Bike and Ped Plan back in the day. A bunch of residents in that area had identified kind of this 5-way stop configuration as confusing. I'm sure everyone's driven through this area. It's not really the best configuration. Really, people kind of play a game of chicken as they're going through. So looking at it, we ended up, doing some survey and some traffic studies to look at, what options we could do to move this forward. So we came up with a couple of options, as you're seeing on the screen here today. So one was kind of looking at more of a teed-up intersection in 2 sections, where we would have essentially a 2-way stop in one section and allow Oak Street going. That would be, which way am I going? That would be west, so kind of flipped over is what this plan's showing you. Like towards Main Street would be a free condition. Neighbors weren't really supportive of the free condition. They would prefer a different configuration. They liked more of a serpentine approach to slow folks through, which we were in agreement with. Then we also provided them a third option, which was a mini roundabout option that we evaluated. That was not supported by the neighborhood at all. So a bunch of the folks, the real concerns were the folks that are in, there's like one driveway that would essentially be in the roundabout. They are done in other communities. There's a bunch of them in Belmont, if you've ever driven through there, where they've added a bunch of these types of things. Ultimately, neighborhood weren't supportive of it, so we're not going to move forward with that type of option. So we ended up going through with this kind of hybrid option, was a serpentine configuration. We would create the parklet that would be up in the the kind of upper section, the green section of your plan. We would also add a 3-way stop sign due to the sight distance issues that we have. They wanted to see a 3-way stop. Makes sense from an engineering standpoint, so we were fine to do that. We've kind of looked at these in other similar situations. So Salem and Lowell would be a good example of one that we've done. Similarly to that, we were able to get a grant as we moved this forward. So this had come to the council at some point, I believe. Definitely was discussed at the Traffic Advisory Committee. Was discussed on the town administrator updates at one point too. So we moved forward with a grant application, received about $250,000 in state grants from MassDOT. And then also working, I think someone on the council here had looked at an earmark for some pollinator garden type thing. So that actually was successful, so $25,000 for that. Great place to deploy it, so we've designed that into the project as well. So between all of this, it would be a no tax impact to the community, so which is obviously a good thing. So obviously with the significant amount of changes here, I wasn't comfortable with just deploying as we did on Salem and Lowell. I think we want to at least give it a trial run before we start actually breaking pavement and moving forward with the bid. So my recommendation to you folks is to allow us to do kind of a 30 to 45 day trial. What I would do is use some flex posts and some paint to kind of configure it up until the end of our plowing season begins, and then I would take it off and move forward with evaluating what we saw. We'd be out there to look at the operation and make sure everything jives and we don't have to make any tweaks. But that's how we would propose it. I could also leave them in with the snowplow operations, but I don't know if that's really the best move. But we would do like a flex post / painting combination.
So we've got the flex posts.
We do have them. Yes, we do. So figured might as well put them to use. Right. There's some other uses that I think that I'll be coming back for for those as well. So, but that's kind of the Oak, Green, and Greenwood in a nutshell. Happy to answer any questions.
I love that you're doing a trial run. I don't remember doing that in the past. No, I
Yeah.
think it's great. I think it's being responsive. I really commend if staff is thinking about these sort of things. I love the timeline for the fall. Let's see how it works. I hope that we're notifying the neighborhoods as you've done for other projects. So
We've had multiple meetings out there. So there's been 4 or 5 public meetings, well, not public meetings, but neighborhood meetings that we've had. So we're going, pounding the pavement with everybody there.
Yeah.
So when we got to this final design, taking the feedback that we had from a couple of years ago, we had a meeting out there before I came here today, and they were all supportive of where we are and where we landed. So that's what we're reporting today. And
I think that sounds great. I think that's really smart, and I think Councillor Chines for the pollinator garden earmark,
Yes.
is he's the one that put in for that. Councillor Carney.
Yeah, I just think these plans are great. I'm given the benefit of what you did on Lowell Street and Salem Street, also Salem and New Salem, and I just think these changes are great. They don't impact us well. They don't really hurt anybody, but they make it safer making right-hand turns, left-hand turns. I think it's super. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Councillor Chris.
I just want to say I appreciate all your work, Bill. I was out there with you standing in the rain at one of the local meetings.
You're right
Happy
there.
to do another one if you need some support out there. Just let me know.
We already had you kind of going through the final design here, and they
Yeah.
all seemed supportive of it. Again, we'll have some street trees built with the pollinator garden as well, so there'll be some
Yeah.
additional kind of streetscape
Yeah.
improvements with it. So I think it's we have a good consensus out here too.
Yeah.
on this.
Well, that's my neighborhood, and I know that coming up from Greenwood Street, I think that 2-way stop sign turn is going to give people pause, and it's going to reduce the speeding and the confusion going through that stretch of road.
Right, and then obviously with the buses and stuff, we looked at the turning templates, all that, but we want to just confirm that everything's going to operate as it's supposed to.
Yeah, and again, with what the Madam Chair said, I think doing the pilot with laying it out on the road, letting people see, having a break-in phase, I think that's a smart approach. I think the neighbors will appreciate that, so thank you.
Is that a hand, Councillor Butler?
Yeah, it is. And I like everything about it. I think the only thing that I would wonder about is the notion of the sidewalk around that full sort of oak to green around the big pollinator garden
The
area.
desire line where people want to cut
Because
straight
people are
ahead.
just going to walk straight down that diagonal like they do now.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
something
are,
that we've
like,
discussed.
are you
It's
just
something
going to
we've
crush
discussed.
stone it, or are we going to just
No, I
accept
think
that
what
we're
we
going
were
to have
looking
a
at, because
dirt
there's a
path?
sidewalk there, so we were looking to remove the sidewalk, and then with
Yeah.
with the way the plantings were going to be created. But it's something that we've been throwing around in the office too.
Okay.
Because with the garden and stuff, people should be able to go there, right? We'll have something to sit if people want to hang out in a little curb island kind of thing, if somebody wants to do that. But
No.
I mean, I think it's a good point.
Are the eastbound Oak people now also stop, so they wouldn't be stopping?
They'd be stopping now at the Greenwood intersection. So we're pushing the stop sign down. Right now, there's a stop sign at Green, and we would be pushing that stop sign to Greenwood. in
Yeah,
a
but if
three-way
you're
configuration.
going on Oak and you're just staying on Oak to get all the way over towards.
You already had a stop
the high
sign there
school.
before, so it was at Green Street.
Oh, no, I'm just trying to
And then-
figure,
and
what I
coming
don't
the other
understand is,
way.
if you're coming from Greenwood Center and going, let's say, to the high school.
Yeah.
Are you stopping there? Because it doesn't
You
look
already
like.
did, you already are, right now. There's a
Oh, you
stop sign
are,
there.
when
Yeah.
when you hit, I keep forgetting Green has 2 sides.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Like I stop there every time I come here.
So you're like, no, I stopped.
Yeah, I do.
The
Apparently
stop
Doug
sign
doesn't
coming
stop.
from.
I blow through
It's
that
a
one.
miserable.
Like the main part of Greenwood doesn't change that much. It's just you've realigned the intersection. So like right now the intersection, because you have Green and Greenwood and Oak all coming into this like massive intersection.
Yes.
Like there's already a stop sign there, but it's like a 5-way.
Yeah.
It's like a stop sign at a 5-way intersection
Yeah.
versus what you've created here, which is 2 much more simplified,
Yeah.
more straightforward intersections.
Exactly, exactly.
Bill, is the vote to approve the trial or and then you'll come back to us in like 30 to 45 days?
We can definitely do that, yep. So here's a kind of a slide showing kind of what we would be doing. So we'd have, the temporary stop signs configured as shown, and then, the flex post as shown. We'd have some painting to kind of reinforce what we're looking to do.
And so I think
It's just for the
coming back
deployment
and
today.
telling us like what you've learned,
Of course.
that would be really helpful, I
Sure.
think. And, how many people are walking through the pollinator proposed garden or?
Well, that's not
Do
gonna,
we
we're not
need to,
gonna, know-
like-
we're not gonna know that, because there's a
Okay.
sidewalk there, so I'm guaranteeing everybody will be using that, because that's where the sidewalk is, so.
Got it.
Yeah.
No, I think
Yeah.
to do the trial, then come back, and if we need to propose any changes, then we can do it then. That would be great.
Do we have any ballpark on cost?
Well, yeah, so our ballpark is somewhere in the range of 275, and we have money for all of that.
Oh.
So yeah, that's all grant funded. So MassDOT gave us 250, 25,000 from the pollinator garden, so between those two, we should be good.
$275,000. You can't get anything for that anymore, so.
It's,
Well,
I mean,
you
it's
can
a
get
lot
an
of improvement
intersection.
for
Buildings
275.
that work.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the simulation trial of the new intersection layout for Oak Street at Green Street and Greenwood Street.
Second.
Second, great. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. 7-0. Thank you.
Okay. I'll be back.
We'll
In a
see you
couple.
in a little bit. I know, I'm trying to go take a little rest. Go drink some water.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
We'll do something else. Item 5B, town meeting process, and we'll go with number 1. Referral to planning board zoning article to recodify the town zoning, chapter 190.
So, Madam Chair, the work that Professor Bobrowski has been doing with the bylaw review committee is now done. He has an article which has been submitted to you to recodify Chapter 190. And as you know, under Chapter 40A, Section 5, the statute that tells us how to amend the zoning bylaw, whenever such an article is submitted to the town council, it must be referred by you to the planning board so that they can have a public hearing on it. This does not mean that you are for or against the article. It's purely a procedural step, and it's required.
So, Madam Chair, move to refer the proposed zoning article to the planning board for public hearing.
Second.
Second, great. Any further discussion?
Just one note, in our packet, there seems to be a reference to the town of Holden. I don't know if that was just an error.
Don't know.
I'm assuming whatever the article is that we're referring will have the correct town reference.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so maybe ask the chair of the bylaw committee to fix that before we include it. Thanks for finding that, Jonathan. And all in favor, say aye. 7-0, great. Moving on to item B2, street name change, Edgewater Place Drive to Edgewater Place. And I think this is Bill and Erin.
Sure. I can go.
Oh, no, I thought it was just gonna be him.
And maybe Marissa? Is Marissa joining?
I don't think so.
No, Marissa, no.
Okay.
Give her a little break. No.
This changed. We're gonna have 3 people on this?
Yeah, right.
The big street.
One
Big
for
street
everyone.
name
Everything's
change.
the same.
So again, Bill Renaud, town engineer. And
Aaron
and
Kokinda, Planning and Community Development.
So Public Works received some notifications from Mass GIS and from the post office regarding the street addressing up at Edgewater Place in that location. So we went through, evaluated, and found that town records aren't actually matching what the buildings are actually using as addresses, which obviously doesn't make a lot of sense for us. So in evaluating it, we figured the easiest way to do this would be to change the name of the street officially for the town records. So what is being requested to you today is to approve that change. So we have a bylaw that was enacted a couple years ago regarding street name changes. So basically, application goes to the planning board reviews, and then forward you a recommendation. The planning board has recommended approval. It's been signed off by myself, although I was the applicant, and town engineer on this one, and then also recommended by
fire.
the police and fire chiefs. So, pretty straightforward.
This is a new process too. It was in May of 2023 that it passed the town meeting. And so we had the public hearing at the planning board. Then they're the ones, again, that Bill said referred, goes to you guys for recommendation, and then ultimately the town council has the final call.
We vote at town meeting on it.
No.
No, it's
Nope.
done
It's
today.
today.
Okay, sorry.
We want to change the name, why?
So,
I'm
yeah,
sorry, I'm
so,
not-
no,
I'm
understood,
not-
yeah, it's a little confusing. So the current road in our records is Edgewater, what is it? I don't know what else.
Edgewater Place Drive.
Edgewater Place Drive is what we have in our records. However, all of the businesses over there have been using Edgewater Place as their address. So between Mass GIS and 911, making sure that people know where to go, that's why this change is being made. Secondarily, from the post office saying, let's have the right addresses. It doesn't match, your records don't match what we have. So,
And the businesses over there are already using Edgewater Place. So
Yeah.
it's two buildings, 301 and 401 Edgewater Place. So
Yeah.
it's just affecting those two buildings, which I know there's a number of businesses, but they've all been notified as well.
Counselor
I was
Chines.
going to say, and Edgewater Place Drive is off of Edgewater Drive, adding
Yes.
to the confusion.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
You got it, you got it. That's it, so.
So, Madam Chair, I'd make a motion to approve the recommendation from Wakefield Planning Board to change the name of Edgewater Place Drive to Edgewater Place in accordance with the town bylaw.
Madam Chairman, may I just suggest you may want to amend the motion, because
Sure.
the bylaw we're acting under says any street name change approved by the town council shall become effective on a date to be set by the town council, such date to be not less than 120 days and not more than 365 days after the vote by the town council. So I
120
believe the
days
motion
is-
ought to set an effective date, and let me suggest, say, February 1 of next year.
Excellent. I will amend my motion to for an effective date of February 1 of 2026.
Accept the mine, right, yeah.
Seconded by Counselor Carney. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. I apologize. That should have been somewhere else on the agenda. Moving on to item 2, B, 2,
Item C.
Item C. Sorry, I lost my place on the agenda. Item C, and we'll go back to Tom.
See, Madam Chair, you have before you a 4-page, single-spaced memorandum with 61 pages of exhibits. You'll be happy to know I'm not going to read aloud. Let me instead briefly summarize, and then I'd be happy to try to answer any questions. And I think Sherry, yeah, thank you. Sherry has put up one of the assessor's maps, which is very helpful. In 2021, Cataldo Ambulance, which provides ambulance services for the town, had then recently moved into the lot at 200 Water Street, which you can see on the plan as Lot F. Cataldo became interested in acquiring what is shown as Lot C, which is just beneath it on the map and abuts Water Street. Lot C is a small, irregularly shaped lot that is bordered by the Mill River and has at all relevant times been vacant. The town had owned Lot C for decades as tax title property. Cataldo hoped to acquire Lot C because it would make it much easier for its emergency vehicles to access Water Street. Just above Cataldo's property on the map, you'll see a still smaller landlocked parcel called Lot G. That too was town property. It's important to the town because there is a 16-inch town-owned sewer main running under it. In June of 2021, then Town Administrator Steve Mayo suggested to this council that we put Lot C out to bid through a request for proposals. He asked that we say, quote, although price will be considered, the primary criterion will be the extent to which the proposed use of the land will further a public purpose, such as improving access for emergency vehicles serving the town, end quote. And your council voted to approve, and a request for proposals went out in September of 2021. Now let me fall on my sword. I wrote the RFP. At 2 points in the document, I used the parcel designation for Lot G, not Lot C. I got the title reference right, that is to say the book and page numbers, and I described the parcel we were selling as being located on Water Street, which clearly describes Lot C and not Lot G. But I mistakenly called the parcel we were selling Lot 1701500G when I should have called it Lot 1701400C. And just so you know that I wasn't hallucinating, the lot designation I used came from an email from the assessing department that's before you as Exhibit 8. But still, I should have double and triple checked and caught the error, but I didn't. I'm sorry. Cataldo submitted a bid clearly indicating that they were proposing to buy the lot that abutted Water Street, which is to say Lot C. And Lot G, again, not to be tiresome, does not abut Water Street. The town council voted to accept Cataldo's bid, which was the only bid, and which was for $14,500. So the purchase and sale agreement and the deed into Cataldo carried forward the mistaken lot number. Months later, after the deed was recorded, Cataldo recognized the error and asked for a confirmatory deed with the scrivener's error corrected. I prepared one and council members signed it. I asked Cataldo for a document disclaiming any interest in Lot G. But before these curative documents could be recorded, the town's tax title attorney, James Coppola, reported that he had found an error in the whole tax-taking process dating back to 1946. He needed time to fix that error. And now, very recently, more than 2 years later, he reported that he has cured those decades-old defects. Meanwhile, Cataldo has integrated Lot C into its pre-existing property, Lot F, and has done all the work that the Conservation Commission has requested with respect to Lot C because Lot C borders the Mill River. That work includes restoring native vegetation and capturing and treating stormwater runoff prior to entering the river. I'm asking you tonight to put this matter to rest once and for all by voting to approve and signing a new and final confirmatory deed that I have prepared. It reflects the correct lot designation and it references the recent tax title work done by Attorney Coppola. I understand that one concern, genuine concern, is whether Cataldo may have enjoyed a windfall by buying Lot C for $14,500, given that the assessor's records indicate that Lot C has a value of $141,500. I think that concern is misplaced. I've spoken with town engineer Bill Renault, who tells me that the whole of Lot C, this 5,900 and some odd square foot parcel, is located in the floodplain, where construction is very tightly regulated, and half of it is in the floodway, where construction is entirely forbidden. He told me he does not believe the lot is buildable. I've also spoken with Assessor Victor Santaniello and his assistant Scott Morrison. They told me that assessed values on tax titles like this, that is, old tax titles with respect to vacant property, simply cannot be relied upon, and that the assessors wouldn't necessarily take account of something like floodplain and floodway unless that matter was specifically brought to their attention. Further, the town council's stated preference for a use that would improve access for emergency vehicles also reduced the value of the land by restricting what could be done with it. And finally, part of the consideration for a confirmatory deed is that Cataldo will give the town clear title to Lot G through a release deed, which we need since, again, there's a 16-inch sewer pipe that runs beneath it, and there's no easement to protect it. So that's a lot to digest, as was my wordy memo, but I'll be happy to try to answer any questions.
So when you spoke to Assessor Santaniello, and now that he understands that it's basically an undevelopable parcel, parcel C, is there a process of reassessment without somebody asking for that? Or, I mean, there's been, as you know, concern about the assessed value versus the cash value that the town received. So is there a process to get those two numbers in line through the assessor? Do you know?
Well, there's always an abatement process that can be initiated by the owner. And besides that, yeah, the assessors can adjust values anytime they become aware of a mistaken value.
So if the town were to take C back, parcel C back, the town could request the abatement. I guess I'm assuming that Cataldo's been paying tax on the assessed value all for the past handful of years that they've owned this parcel.
Well,
If
Cataldo
you know.
has been paying taxes on the tax bills they get,
So for Lot G.
which would be for Lot G, and it should be for Lot C.
Counselor Carney.
I think I want to point out that they bought the building. I think, in all reality, they would be the only people interested in that lot. It's
It's an unbuildable
lot. So that's the whole issue, and I understand people's concerns about the value, but who would pay more than them for a piece of property they can do nothing with? So, there was a mistake made. Things happen, but I think one thing I think you have to make very clear: Cataldo has done nothing wrong. There was a mistake made on behalf of the town, but Cataldo has done nothing wrong. So the issue is here: is what are we going to do? Is we have to settle this so that we get our sewer back.
Counselor Butler.
Counselor Chance, I didn't have my hand raised.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Counselor
that's okay.
Chines.
So I agree with Counselor Carney. I mean, I think we all know just from buying and selling, properties on our own that, kind of the assessed value and, what you actually pay can be different in circumstances. I mean, ultimately, the value of the property is the value that someone is willing to pay for it. And, we're talking about a non-buildable plot of land that really has no value unless you own the adjacent parcel, particularly since I don't know if I'm kind of looking at the map incorrectly, Mr. Mullen, but it looks like the building on Cataldo's parcel does encroach like ever so slightly on parcel C.
That I don't know.
Okay. If it doesn't encroach, it's like right on the line
Yeah,
from
very close.
from what we see. So I think to say that there's like intrinsic value that the town gave away here, I just don't think is accurate. I do think, ultimately this comes down to, kind of a series of errors that, go back apparently to the 1940s when, when the properties were recorded decades and decades ago. This to me is an administrative effort that we need to take to clean it up. It doesn't change any policies. It doesn't change, advantage or disadvantage the town in any way relative to, decisions that have already been made and executed. I think it just makes sense to move ahead so we can clean this up.
And Madam Chair, if I could just add, with respect to Cataldo being the innocent party here, it's more than innocent because Cataldo did the right thing. As I understand it, one or more prior owners used Lot C for access, but didn't own it.
Yeah.
Cataldo wanted to do the right thing and formally purchase it, and also has done the considerable work that is involved in making that kind of ownership environmentally safe, given that Lot C borders the Mill River. One thing I haven't mentioned is that under our zoning bylaw, if your property has a river running through it, you can't build anything for 50 feet from the bank. So to whatever extent there's any room for construction on Lot C, and again, Bill looked at it and concluded he didn't think there was, a good 50 feet from the border is entirely unbuildable for a reason that Bill and I hadn't even discussed.
Counselor Butler.
I think this is, and not to say, yes, it was a mistake. It is also a tremendous amount of revisionist history that is going on. Because I was on the finance committee at the time, we were told that this was a lot that was worth next to nothing, that was worth 30 grand by the previous town administrator. And we agreed, there was no way we would have sold a piece of land to, even if it isn't worth anything to anybody else. I'll tell you what, I'll give Cataldo the 14.5 right now if they take their stuff off it. Like, we could take it, we would take it back. Cataldo is not clearly in the right here. And they got an RFP. Like, having that sort of thing written into an RFP, that feels like dicey. I mean, the whole thing doesn't feel great to me because it was done in, like, oh, sorry, it was a mistake. But it's not like the mistake went, we're looking to rectify this mistake by giving Cataldo a piece of land that is, and it's not worth nothing. It's especially, you're like, oh, it wouldn't be worth anything to anybody else to build? Nobody else could build on it? Right. But it's worth a ton to Cataldo because it's an extension of their property. And it would be worth, it probably is worth $100,000 to them. So it is feeling like Cataldo got a sweetheart deal to buy this land from us. And they got it sort of pushed through under sort of a false pretense. And now we're coming back, and granted, we started this process years ago. But it does feel like I don't want to just sort of push away that, oh, like, this is an unbuildable lot, and this is a gift to them. And, like, that they're taking it is like, a black mark from my point of view on this. This doesn't feel like it was a great process overall. And look, I know we had just, I don't even know if we had hired Cataldo at that point. We probably had. But it just feels like this whole thing doesn't give a good governance feel to the whole issue of the town.
Madam Chair, may I just ask, what was the occasion for the Finance Committee to consider this?
I think we got brought before us, because I know I had the conversation with Stephen, I believe it was before the Finance Committee in terms of the purchase of the land. I think it was after you guys voted,
Yeah.
but you sold it.
We
This was
sold the
town-
land, but it's tax title land, so it wouldn't have gone to town meeting.
Yeah, this did not go to town
This did
meeting.
not go to us.
Tax title sales don't, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was one point I was curious about. Just another that I've got to make clear is it is absolutely not unusual to use an RFP to sell tax title land for a specific purpose. So you can, and in various towns I've represented, they frequently do issue an RFP, and they'll say, this is to be used for low or moderate income housing, for example. And it may well be that that nets a smaller amount for the town than an auction would, an unrestricted auction.
Right, but there's a difference between low and moderate housing, and so that putting in that you want to have it so that ambulances can get out.
This was a public purpose, as declared by the town council in a vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there were-
was.
and
I'm
there
not
were-
saying it wasn't.
And there
I'm
were
not-
no other bidders. You would think if somebody was going to be clever, as you're suggesting, they would put in a higher bid, take it, and then start negotiating with Cataldo, right? But nobody else came forward.
No, because the premise was, because it wasn't a price-based thing. You could have come in at $75,000 and they still would have sold it to Cataldo.
I think if you would have come in at 75,000 with the same adherence to public purpose, that would have been a conversation the council would have had.
You couldn't come in with the same. You set up the RFP, so the only person who could buy it was Cataldo, and that's the other part. And then you took a price that was half the assessed value of not the piece of land you were selling it for. The assessed value of this piece of land has been, and granted, Victor is coming back and saying like, well, this is maybe not what the assessed value would be. It's been over $100,000 almost every year for the past 25 years. You gave this, and it's fine to give it away, but like I'm not in favor of what we're doing.
Counselor Carney?
How can you say we're giving away when a company comes in voluntarily, does everything that the Conservation Commission asks on a piece of property that nobody else would ever possibly want? Okay? They came in, they improved the area beside the river. They made an investment, and they're a business. They just improved that property down there, and they're the ones who brought it to our attention. Why? Well, you sound like it's a conspiracy theory here.
I'm not even saying it's like a conspiracy theory. I think it was a gift to Cataldo, and that's okay. But like, I'm not gonna stand here and say that it wasn't, that the 14.5 was not. And granted, the way you guys wrote the RFP, yeah, it's a fair and negotiated or fair price for considering that you wanted to have it not be purely price driven. It doesn't, if you look at it, it doesn't feel good around what, and I know you're like, what else? They did something with a piece of property. They bought the adjoining property.
Which was a.
I'm not saying that it
was
wasn't a
horrible,
dump.
it was a mess. I
Yeah.
didn't want anybody else would be nuts to buy that piece of property, the mess it was in. It was in horrible shape.
What are you
I
going to
would've
do when
never, ever
Cataldo
thought.
sells their place like 2 years from now or 10 years from now? If we ever fire them as the ambulance company and they tear that thing down, and then they sell that place for $2 million, are we going to get this gift that we gave them of C back? No, we're not. So.
Counselor Chines?
So I don't think it's helpful to talk about a hypothetical if Cataldo sells it for $2 million in a couple of years.
I'm just saying we gave them something.
I would disagree with that. It went through a public bidding process. This was the price that they paid. And this was the price that a council accepted unanimously at the time. I don't think it makes sense to kind of go back and kind of relitigate it. And so I would, Madam Chair, make a motion to approve and execute the confirmatory deed for land on Water Street, shown on assessor's maps as parcel 17-014-00C to RD&D LLC, nominee of Cataldo Ambulance Service Incorporated, and further move to issue a release of deed by RD&D LLC for parcel 17-015-00G to address any possible cloud on title.
Second motion.
Any further discussion?
So we definitely get G back in this. This is essentially a trade.
Well, we're not trading.
We're
I think
just
the title
rectifying-
is,
we
the
definitely
title
take title
access
of
suggests
G
that we already
with that.
own G and we've already
I
sold
just
C.
wanna-
What we are getting from Cataldo is called a release deed. It's a declaration which will be recorded that says, notwithstanding anything previously recorded, we don't own G. G
Cataldo
belongs
doesn't
to
own
the
G.
town of Wakefield. And what we give in return is the confirmatory deed with respect to C, as you've heard.
Counselor Fox?
Just curious. So Mr. McCauley's clearly done his homework. I know he's talked to you. He sent all of us a long email today that I read through. There's been a lot of questions concerning this topic. I think this is the third meeting since I've joined the committee, joined the town council in June, that this has come up. Are we following everything right at this point? That if we sign off on it, there won't be any further open meeting law violations, questions from the state, anything like that, that this could be it.
So, yeah, we should do this tonight and get it over with, and we're doing it right. And here's why. You're right, this is the third time it's been on the agenda. The first time, we used a wrong designation to identify one of these parcels. Mr. McCauley pointed that out, and I was glad he did. I recommended to the chair that we pull that matter from that meeting, and so we did not proceed, and thus we did not violate the open meeting law. The second time, it ended up being word for word the same agenda item. That's kind of embarrassing. We should have changed it. But when I realized, again, because Macaulay brought it to our attention, I said, well, we pulled it before, we should pull it now. This time, we wrote in excruciating detail just what the topic was. And so there's no open meeting law problem in your entertaining this and voting on it and signing the document tonight. Macaulay has some other issues with respect to the whole process, as has been raised tonight. And if he wants to talk with me, I'll be happy to talk with him. But I don't see a mechanism whereby anybody has standing to go to court about this. He mentions going to the Inspector General. The Inspector General only investigates whatever interests him and then issues reports. They don't actually take action. So I would welcome a call from the Inspector General. As you've seen from your packet, I've got a lot of material to show them.
Yeah, you did a lot of research as well, so that's why I'm comfortable ending this tonight, just knowing that, you're prepared if he tries anything else.
I believe I am.
Good, thank you.
Thanks.
Counselor Constance.
I just want to address, Doug, your concern too. The RFP, which is in the materials, and Tom, thank you for putting all this together. For me, who was not involved at all or really aware of this issue, it was extremely helpful to have that history, so thank you. The RFP says that the consideration will be so that the use of the land will further a public purpose. So it's easy to imagine that somebody could have come forward and said, oh, this is on a wetland, this is on a river. I would like to bid on it to maintain it as a pollinator garden or what have you. Then it goes on to say, such as improving access. It's not restricted to, the one bidder that we know is going to be interested in this. If it makes you a little more comfortable, Counselor Butler, I'm just saying that the RFP was more general than you are fearing. In
By the way,
hindsight.
I am going to vote for this so that we have a unanimous approach to this, largely because I really can't not vote for it. We need the sewer back. We need these other things. There's not going to be much of things. And yes, that is indeed written as such. And this is, I didn't go to law school, so.
I'm not
No.
pulling punches in that way,
no, I
believe
know, I
me.
know.
No.
But yes,
I just feel like this does feel to me like an I understand all the conversation around it, but at a certain point, you have to look at what are the facts on the ground, what are we looking at, what's the remedy going forward, if we don't take this path, what's a better path? I can't think that there's a better path forward other than what's on the table tonight, so I'm in favor of proceeding as proposed.
Any other further comments on the motion that was made and seconded, and the motion language was okay?
Yes.
Tom? Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye, 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And let me pass down the document. I'd appreciate it if at least 4 members could sign.
I think you might get all 7.
let's not get crazy.
Let your
I
conscience,
voted for it. I'm not sure I'm going to
let your
sign it.
conscience be your guide.
I'll let the rest of
You
you.
should have handed this Doug first.
Okay, moving on. Item number D, open meeting law complaints.
Well, speak of the devil.
I vote against them.
So this relates to 2 open meeting law complaints that were brought by Scott McCauley. And the one was with respect to the second meeting that we just discussed. And I'd have to say, I think we addressed that adequately by pulling back from the brink and not making the mistake that he warned us against. And again, good for him. I appreciate that. The second was an enlargement of the original complaint, where he complained about various other matters that came up at the town council meeting for September 8th. And there I don't think that he is on very firm ground, but I will look into it. And I bring it up now because the Attorney General has determined that whenever an open meeting law complaint is made to a public body, the public body is to consider it at their next meeting and decide what to do. And what you do can be, and I recommend that it in fact be, to delegate to me the researching of it and writing a response to Mr. McCauley and to the Attorney General. This is how we almost invariably respond to open meeting law complaints in Wakefield.
So, Madam Chair, I'd move to delegate and to Mr. Mullen the responsibility for reviewing the complaints and responding.
Seconded, great. And further discussion, Councilor Constance?
I mostly had a process question, just so I understand how I understand what you're saying about these two open meeting law complaints. Is that typically what you're seeing boards and committees around town do if and when any open meeting complaint comes through, that they're contacting you or they're trying to handle it on their own, or what are you seeing? And is there a volume, or, what, I just want to understand this process a little bit better.
Yes, that is the process that I recommend and that I am seeing. If any public body in Wakefield ever gets an open meeting law complaint, they should immediately notify me. My invariable advice now is that they should, at their next meeting, and if their next meeting doesn't happen within something like 20 days, they should hold a special meeting just to address the open meeting law complaint. And if they don't, then no matter whether they were responsible for the underlying open meeting law offense or not, they have themselves committed a new open meeting law violation by failing to address the complaint. So they should always, every public body should always address the complaint in open session and decide what to do about it. And deciding what to do about it really means, giving it to me. I'll look into it, and I will. Sometimes I write that the board did the wrong thing, and I recommend to them how to do it in the right way in the future.
Kevin, as interim town administrator, can I ask for you and Sherry to kind of write up a little how-to guide about this? This has come up a lot recently, in the last couple of months, than it ever did in my 9 years before. And I trust Tom, but I don't think all of our committees or boards know the process, and I just don't want to hear about things after. So if we could write up kind of if you get an open meeting, if you get something, an open meeting law complaint form, step 1, call Tom. Sure. Step 2,
Yes.
call, I would like that, and then just to be shared with all the committees. I think we should do that, because this is not, there are 2 filings that we got, but I think there's a number more that have consistently been filed by people in our community and people not in our community. So I think if we could just share that with everyone, and I think it's good for us to have, because I don't think we knew the process, because it hasn't happened before as often as it is happening now.
So can they file open meeting laws to just one of us? Like, their complaint has to be like via a form. Like somebody couldn't email me with their open meeting law complaint, because God knows I wouldn't necessarily check. Yeah.
So there's actually a form which we've been seeing in every case, from the Attorney General's office, that a complainant is supposed to fill out and send to the public body that he's complaining about.
Okay.
And then just, Kevin, as I think about this, when there are boards that we've appointed, so I know there's some that we have nothing to do with, but the ones that we appoint, I think for us to be aware, just that those are ongoing. I heard today that one of our boards has another one in front of them, so I think we should all be knowing what's out there in our town. So I know some boards aren't us, but the boards that are, that we appoint. Councilor Carney.
Yeah, I just want to let you know that a stopgap we've had is Sherry. People go to Sherry for everything. And when something like this comes up, so I think most of them will go to Sherry and say, okay, what do we do? And Sherry gives them directions to go. So she has been. I know when I was on the advisory committee, they basically, I heard it from them, and we talked to Sherry, and Sherry told us what to do. So, but give credit where credit's due.
Yep. I think it's just with a new TA coming in too, just to make the process. So if the process is call Sherry and then Sherry connects you with Tom, I think just to have that stated out so we're all aware what the process is.
And Maureen, I think it might be in our committee handbook anyways, but I can check.
That would be great. We don't see you on the screen anymore, Sherry. You've disappeared, just so you know.
Actually, the screens have disappeared.
Both screens, both screens disappeared.
Someone didn't move the mouse.
Oh, yeah. Councilor Fox.
So along those lines, since there is an uptick of getting hit for agendas, meeting minutes, things like that, is there almost a retraining that needs to take place as part of that, what to do? Because if we're getting this many now, I assume this won't stop. So maybe a refresher of what to do.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think that's a good idea, and I've been thinking about that. I've, from time to time, given individual courses, if you will, to such public bodies as ask for it. But I think it would be worth, well, let me ask you, do you want me to prepare something like that for all members of public bodies who want to come together at one time? Or do you want me to go to each public body and do my little show for them?
Can I make a suggestion on that? So I think the Mass Municipal Association has training on open meeting law, that if we could kind of leverage that and point people to that so that you don't have to do this.
Yeah, I don't want you to be the one to have to go to like 15 different meetings.
I think there is information available that we can probably make sure is disseminated, and whether boards cover that in a meeting or people view it on their own.
It'll save time later on for you having to reply to everything if everyone has a better idea ahead of time.
I also just want to add, I think that's a great idea. We should look at what we can share. I don't think we need you yet to train all of us in town. But also, our volunteers are doing the best they can, including us. And so there's not always violations. If somebody says there's a violation, that doesn't mean that there's always there. So I just also want to say that.
You are correct, but the fact that we're dealing with two of them tonight, and that Tom has to go back and research and reply to it, if we could kind of head that off ahead of time, that's the better way to do it, and not get them at all. Whether volunteering or not, I mean, someone's reviewing the minutes or the agendas, so, if there's a way to stop it ahead of time, it's always better.
Early in the spring, or maybe late spring, Tom, you did give a training to the Housing Production Plan group. There was an online meeting that I listened in on, and probably the first, and I'll have to pull out my notes, and I'll just circulate it to Sherry to disseminate. You did probably a 20-minute training for that group, and it was fantastic. So I'll try to find that link and let Sherry know, because it does exist. It exists out there that Tom actually did, plus the MMA one. So yes, there's a lot of information that we can avail ourselves of, but to Chair Butt's point, everybody's a volunteer, and we're managing many things and doing the best we can, and keeping Wakefield center of our concern, and that's that's to be commended.
Counselor Butler.
And this is probably more for Kevin and maybe Tom, is like, do we need to, like, because of the increased preponderance of this, do we need to, like, amend the legal budget? Or not amend, but do we think it's not gonna have a material impact?
Not going to have any impact.
Okay.
Wakefield is the only client I don't bill on an hourly basis.
So then you should go to all 15 boards then. we think.
Okay, so we had a motion and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye, 7-0. Thank you very much, Tom.
Sure, thank you.
Item 6A, Butler Ave environmental remediation.
Again, for 94 Butler Ave. Just quick background, as you all may remember, we received a approval at the Springtown meeting for some supplemental funding to fund the cleanup at Butler Ave. Since that meeting, we've advanced our bidding process, opening bids on the 3rd of September, and we had some very favorable numbers that came through. So of the three bidders that submitted bids, Strategic Environmental Services came in at about $563,000, while our other two bidders were at 1.4 and 1.7. The other two were pretty close to what we were carrying for the number and why we went to town meeting to ask for the supplemental funding. Long story short, our consultant has worked with SES on several projects and reached out to them to make sure they could do the project for the budget that they submitted, which they confirmed they could. So basically, I'm just here to give you some update that we're definitely going to be able to stay on budget on this one, for sure. So that's a good thing, but I will be coming back to you folks at some point to, recommending probably a release of the remaining funds either to the general fund or however you folks would want to do that. That'll be up to Kevin to figure out, or his subsequent replacement.
Counselor Carney.
This is significant difference.
Yeah, that's what I said too,
Bid.
when I saw it.
And,
Yeah, that was why we asked about if
Do we
they
have
can
any
do it.
concerns about that?
What's that?
Do we have concerns about that?
Our consultant that bid the project for us has worked with SES on multiple projects. So they're very happy with all of their work. They reached back out to them to go over it, make sure that they were comfortable with the scope, understood the overall scope, and that they didn't miss something. They said they did not. They're comfortable they can get it done at this number. That's included within your packet, the recommendation to award from our consultant as well. As I looked at some other pieces, we do have some other costs that will need to be addressed. We ran into some issues with soil specs for the soil that we have at the pit. We need about 3,500 cubic yards of fill for the project as a whole. We have about 1,000 that met specs, so we're going to need to bring in some additional funding. I was already planning that within my budget anyway. So we'll be bringing in probably another $150,000 worth of fill. We have some additional engineering services for about $100,000, but all in all, we're going to be probably only taking $400,000, I'm thinking, out of the bond, which is good news for us.
No unanticipated change orders.
At this point, no. Again, we carried significant contingency because with earthwork projects, you make a lot of estimates, but you can be off by a little bit on that stuff. So we definitely carried hefty contingencies. And even with us, with the low bid, the scope's very clearly defined. So, that includes the removal of the building and abating that. It also removes debris areas in a couple of sections, some which wouldn't be covered through the insurance policy. Insurance policy-wise, we're looking at probably about $500,600,000 or so left. I have a meeting with the insurance company folks to go over our numbers and their numbers to confirm that. So we are going to be under budget for sure. So it's good news.
Thank you.
I don't get to come with all good news like this, so this is a good presentation.
Any other comments?
Just, was it weird that Connecticut company bid on this? Do you
No,
know?
they do that type of work. Just because they're out of Connecticut doesn't. There's a
they're all
certain.
over New England?
Yeah, they
Okay.
are. Yeah. Yeah, but their number was pretty close to what I was carrying as our engineer's estimate. So we went through and had our on-call contractor provide an estimate. So that's where I came up with the number to bring to town meeting. So we were thinking 1.7 was about where it would come in, and then we had some additional funds, for soil contingency, which we're going to need, and then some engineering services that we anticipated too. So,
But this doesn't include the prettying it up, does it?
oh, it does.
Oh, it
yeah.
does?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So the little parklet, the wildflower meadow, the little walkway, sitting area, all those things will be in there. Tree plantings, replacement tree plantings, all the stuff that was approved by the Conservation Commission. We worked pretty hand in hand on that with them.
Pretty great.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, folks. Thank you. Just construction start? We're hoping to start in the fall. So I'll be sending out award letter pretty close to end of week, if not early next week. And we're trying to get them in as soon as possible. Regardless, construction will end by spring of '26. So that'll be probably plantings in all likelihood, but it may have some additional earthwork still remaining. So hopefully weather holds and we can get most of that work done.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Sounds great. Okay, item B, Community and Economic Development and the Planning Department.
Good evening, everyone. Well, hello, I'm back. I thought this would be the first time I'd be up, so it's nice to see you again. I feel like I've met all of you before, but just a reintroduction. My name's Erin Kokinda. I'm the Planning and Community Development Director. Thank you for allowing me to come tonight and give, I think, some really great and exciting updates of things that are going on within our community. Hold on, I forgot I could do this. So just to give an overview to the folks that are fairly new to the council, so Community and Economic Development Department was created in 2020. I was hired as the Community and Economic Development Director, and I've been holding that position and doing that work since then. It was an interesting time to start. It was November 2020, so right when I got in, it was all COVID-related activities, but this department was created prior to COVID. So the whole idea was to strategically position the community as a place to do business and to be able to compete regionally as well. Many towns have this position as too. It's also in place to make sure many of the strategies that we're doing are working and to grow and retain the commercial tax base, which is, I know, is something that is talked about quite a bit here. I work daily. My day-to-day job is a lot of emails, phone calls with small and large business owners. If it's someone just looking to open their door, like Life Love Cheese, they were a vendor at the Wakefield market, called me one day, said they wanted to do a brick and mortar, and I kind of worked with her along the way to find her a space. Or larger ones like The Edge, help them to attract and retain businesses here in their development. So I kind of cover the whole gamut of the businesses and nonprofits that I work with. But at the end of the day, we're both strategic and hands-on, and we guide long-term planning while helping the businesses every way. So this kind of gives you a high-level idea. I won't kind of go through each thing, but of the services initiatives that are supported by this office and this work. Again, business nonprofit support, not only just finding space here in town, but helping them streamline the process if they need to go to the building department, assessors, DPW, as well as also connecting them with some outside resources like the Massachusetts Small Business Development Center. I can't tell you how many calls I get about people looking to open a business that I ask them if they have a business plan. Most of the time it's no. So I always refer them to the different resources that are available to make sure I'm setting them up for success. That kind of turns into programming for business growth. I've done a lot of internal programming, which I'll talk to you more about later, but also, helping them find space here in town while working with property owners to promote their space as well. For some of the council members that have been on for a little bit, we've also do some marketing for the town in the past, but also going to be doing marketing again over the next year, which is really exciting, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. And also a big thing, I work with Bill on this, seeking grant opportunities for economic growth. I think you probably think that's, finding grants for businesses, but it can kind of carry over to finding grants for housing, for infrastructure that support economic growth within our community. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say event planning. Town Day is on Saturday, so come on by. It looks like the weather's changed. Me and Jen McDonald have been very helpful with the council to kind of carry them through. So again, since I've started, this is a rough estimate, but I've probably helped around 200 to 300 businesses and nonprofits. I won't run through this, but I have a newsletter that goes out, streamlining permitting, and these are all the different organizations that I work with on a quite frequent process, quite a bit, or people I refer, businesses and property owners too. And commercial real estate support. I've heard about vacancies earlier, so I've had long-standing relationships with many of our downtown business property owners, both ones that have had a good job, filling their space, ones that it's been a little challenging. I think something that I'm very excited about is we are finally able to break through and get Gong Cha, and I've been working with Calvin, who's the son of the owners of that building that's been vacant for 10 years, to get his space up and running, kind of was helping him along the way. But I'm there to offer any sort of commercial real estate support, connect them with any state programs. We do have a tax increment finance, which both helps businesses and property owners. If they make improvements to their property for a business, they can get a tax break. Some past initiatives I've worked on through this office, small business resource webinar. We did a few of those during COVID and after. We did do a digital marketing training and grant program, round one, back in 2021 for a number of businesses during COVID. We've held business hours, Town Day, a huge kind of economic development driver, bringing people to the community, the marketing campaign I talked about, and then placemaking. I think that word you hear maybe quite a bit, but Project Pop-Up, we did a retail mobile container back in 2023 across the street from the Galvin. Kind of trial, Inspire ended up opening a storefront in downtown, which is a great success story. And now we're doing it again on North Ave, but an actual location, which I'll talk a little bit more in a second. And then I think people think a lot of times our plans and assessments sit on the shelf, but we've done a number of reports and plans over the course of me being here that I actually do use quite a bit to get ideas. Local Rapid Recovery Program, that was a state program that was done during COVID, gave us recommendations to how to get our businesses up and running, and I actually looked at that while we were looking to use ARPA, to look at how we should use our ARPA funds, The Urban Land Institute, South Main, I kind of walked into that program, but how we revitalized the South Main Street area, and I think we can all agree something's being done there now. We have McGuire now with their new facade and sign, and we see things that are going on at 460 Main. Vision 2030, if you did go through that report, you would see that we're hitting some of our goals there when it comes to economic development, placemaking, downtown growth. I think we could, there's still work to be done, but I think we're hitting them. And then the downtown market assessment, we did one in 2016, and we right now we're looking at an updated one. And then these are the future one, Envision, which Bill just talked about, master plan still in the works, downtown market assessment, and then transportation demand management. That's ongoing conversations to support our business community with microtransit. So this is the exciting part while I'm here. So I want to start this slide by saying I have to thank the Economic Development Council. They were a new council that started around the time that $1 million was allocated to them to do economic development initiatives. And they've been the one that have allocated the $1 million into buckets, working with me and going based on the plans that I just talked about on where businesses could use assistance. Through working together, we've created a number of programs here over the last year. Facade and Sign, a digital marketing program, a speaker series with the Chamber, a marketing and PR campaign that we're getting off running soon, Project Pop-Up on North Ave, and then Creative Arts and Special Events Grant Program, and then our downtown market assessment. So the Facade and Sign program, $550,000, so more than half of the $1 million was allocated to do a Facade and Sign program. We just closed out round one. There was about 20 projects. It resulted in over $1 million in exterior property improvements. And it was a matching grant program. So the town paid up to 50% of the monies to make the improvement. I want to make it very clear that, I think it was a really great process because we helped the businesses from the day that they put in the application till the day that they've completed the work. I made sure that they met with the building department, that we were meeting all the bylaws, made sure they had all the right permits. I was hoping to use this process as a way to streamline some of the signage and facade improvements that we'd like to see in downtown. Round 2 is open. It was so successful, they decided to allocate more money. So I have 14 applicants that I'm going through now. Here are just 2 examples from round 1. McGuire, which is pretty transformative. And then Fringe, I think, is very transformative. I don't know how many likes she got on her page, but it was pretty remarkable. I think people were really excited about the renovations that she did there. And the average of the projects combined was around $21,000. So it really did make an impact and help businesses and property owners that might have not done the work otherwise. Digital marketing grant, this built off the first time we did it. It was very successful in 2021, as we allocated $60,000 for that. This program was just not about giving out grants. It was also a learning component as well. So for applicants, again, was for small businesses. They had to attend 4 trainings or watch 4 trainings about, first one, digital marketing, second one, website and SEO. The other one was marketing, automation, and AI tools. And the other one was creating a digital marketing plan, which we used all different consultants for. Grants of up to $3,000 were offered to businesses, and there were 16 applicants and 11 were funded, and we're closing that up right now as well. And I'd say it was really successful based on what I've seen from some of the businesses. The exciting thing I think you'll see coming up soon is a marketing and PR campaign. Up to $150,000 was allocated to do, and this is, it's not 2 years, it's going to be a little over 1 year campaign. But what we did in the RFP is make sure that whoever we hire as a consultant has a great transition plan for Jen McDonald and myself. Props to Jen McDonald. She's been the one I've been going to. This is really her wheelhouse. But the marketing PR campaign is really just to position Wakefield as a top place to live, work, and visit. It's supposed to also promote economic development initiatives, properties, incentives, new businesses, help build Wakefield's reputation and visibility through social media. Digital outreach events will help me when I do my promotion to businesses. And right now we're currently picking a marketing and PR consultant. We just were being mindful of the time of the new town administrator starting. We wanted to make sure she had a piece of that. And then Project Pop-Up. So we were just on WBZ. Did anyone hear it? Anyone? No? That was claim to fame for the year on WBZ radio. The pop-up location on North Ave, it was where McGuire used to be. We did try to find a location downtown. It just needed too much work. But a pop-up will be going in hopefully October 1st is our target date to open. We will have 3 businesses, which are all Wakefield-based entrepreneurs that will be opening there. There's different seasons, so they'll each be in there for about 3 years. 3 years, not 3 years, 3 months, yes, sorry. And again, this all, stem from how much success we had from the pilot pop-up we did back in 2023. And I think it goes to, supporting local entrepreneurs that want to really, test out our market, but then also adding something a little exciting to our downtown. It goes to placemaking, and we're going to have it changing, and there's going to be special events there, and it's right across the street from the train. So I think it will drive a lot more foot traffic to that area. And then the creative arts and special events, we allocated $100,000 for that. It's to support arts, culture, and community events in Wakefield. It's open to local organizations. So if anyone that's listening has an idea that's related to, a special event to draw people into town or cultural or arts, please take a look at the application and consider applying. It's a tiered grant program of up to $5,000, up to $10,000, up to $15,000, depending on the size and scope of the project. But it's really created to boost vibrancy and create more opportunities for people to come to town and come together. I think right now it would be, Town Day. It's a really great time to bring folks together. 4th of July, we see it. So, and then also, cultural and art events as well. So far I've had, where's my number? 4 or 5 applicants, and I've awarded 2. And then the last thing, on Wednesday night, we'll be hearing about our downtown market assessment update. $25,000 was allocated for this assessment. It really will show what Wakefield's business mix is. It'll be updated from 2016. Our consumer behavior, we had 920 survey responses, which is actually a really good response for surveys on what people thought of our downtown, what businesses thought, where people shop, what they'd like to see in downtown Wakefield. And so they will be showing their findings on Wednesday night at the Economic Development Council meeting, the consultant will. And hopefully I'll be able to use this as a tool and a guide as I move forward to try to attract new businesses to our community. And I guess I just want to say thank you. I think a lot of these projects you don't really hear much about, but this is all the exciting stuff that's going on. And I mean, there's a lot of exciting stuff going on in our community, but feel good type things. And again, I have to thank the Economic Development Council for entrusting me with these programs. And yeah, I'm here to answer any questions. And then I know we have Marissa online too, but I was just here to talk about community economic development.
Thank you. Councilor Chrisley.
Thanks for that update,
Oh, yeah.
Aaron. Really appreciate that. I mean, I'm just amazed how many things you're juggling, under your portfolio. And just want to say I probably remiss in getting in contact with you about the master plan initiative. Mm-hmm. So I do want to follow up with you about that. Yep. But thank you for all this good work. And, I know it gets noticed. My daughter told me there was a pink building, on Main Street. And I was like, how did I miss the pink building? And I was like, oh, okay. So, but I know it's you do a lot for the town, and I think it's some very innovative stuff. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Chines.
Thank you as well. This is so exciting to hear, and it's great to see sort of the ARPA dollars starting to be put to use. So I appreciate your work on that, and obviously the Economic Development Council as well. I am so excited about Project Pop-Up.
Yeah.
I think when you first started, I remember talking about this with you, and you probably are like, what is this insane idea? But I do think that having space where people can try out a bricks and mortar location in Wakefield and having a space that changes, in an environment where people can shop online, I feel like part of what makes retail vibrant is seeing new and different things. And so I'm really excited about the space. I think it's a great opportunity, and I'm so appreciative for the thought that went into making this happen and all the work that you did. I know you looked at a lot of properties to figure out where this could go.
I'm happy it's coming to fruition. I always felt bad that I never had an answer when people are asking, but I think it's going to be a great space.
No, absolutely. One question that I did want to ask. So, you've talked a lot of, and I think the Economic Development Council has focused a lot on downtown, which I think is appropriate. But as you think about kind of the, the commercial tax space that we're trying to expand, obviously that's not just downtown. I mean, we have industrial locations around New Salem Street. We have a lot of office space if you go up by Audubon Road and in Edgewater Place or Edgewater Place Drive or whatever it's all, whatever it's called. Until February.
Yeah.
Are there other things that we should be doing, thinking about as we think about, kind of the more sort of commercial industrial spaces outside of, kind of downtown areas? Again, I don't want to take away from the work you're doing downtown, because I think that's absolutely the right direction, but would love to just get your thoughts on the sort of the larger universe of commercial opportunity.
And I think I should note too, I'm sorry if it did seem like I was talking very heavily about downtown. All these programs are open to all businesses. We had a number of them outside of our downtown area. Fringe, for example, is in the Greenwood area. But to your question, I have constant conversations with the folks over at the Edge about what the town can do to support them as they look for new businesses. And the main thing I always hear from them, and I always talk about the Edge because they have such a large square footage over off Audubon Road that I think a lot of people don't even realize is part of Wakefield. But Eastern Bank just moved there. And how I work with them to kind of streamline any processes that go through the town is always a win. But I think with this marketing and PR campaign that we're going to do, I think it'll be really helpful as we kind of broaden our horizon to reach out to businesses that I really haven't had the opportunity to, that may be looking to expand outside of the Boston area or have a satellite campus, and to be able to have those marketing tools, I think is something that places like the Edge or Lakeside Office Park would really appreciate, because I don't think we have that right now as a tool, and even this market assessment. when it comes to industrial and spaces like that, I always try to keep tabs on what's going to be available or what's coming up next. But I do, I think everyone honestly gets kind of like downtown, but there are a lot of great things going on in these other commercial nodes. And I always am trying to think of ways how to better support them. So if you guys ever have any ideas, please send them my way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say as well, as you're kind of working with, some of the property owners and potential businesses, even if there are things like, zoning changes that we
Yep.
should consider in commercial districts, I hope we have a chance to kind of talk through those, because you and I have talked about it. I've heard Councilor Butler talk about this as well. But, part of our, part of what makes the town sustainable is the ability to grow a commercial tax base. And
Absolutely.
I think it's important for us to make sure that we're being as kind of open-minded and trying to do that as possible.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's something now, having Marissa, that's conversations me and her have had, as looking at zoning, as using it as an economic development tool as well, and looking at different pockets and kind of that Audubon Road area in New Salem Street, and how we look at that, and with doing the zoning recodification, is there ways that we can support more businesses that way?
Great. Thank you.
Councilor Carney?
I honestly think that that's one of the most difficult problems Wakefield's always had. We had a problem with Foundry Street, but that's changing now. And then New Salem Street, it's an industrial area right in the middle of town. I was responsible for those truck signs that you see pointing everything. And we're probably going to maybe be able to get rid of those some now that we have ways. But the fact that, major trucking companies have to come into town, to the center of town, and we're divided. And what you can do to try to improve upon that would be great. Boundary Street is a sad situation as far as I'm concerned, but it's housing now, and it's housing that abuts the train, the railroad. So I guess it's going to be popular. But we lost a lot of tax base there, and I don't think you can gain more industrial base. What we have is what we have. So what you can do to improve upon that.
Yeah. And I think something I've been mindful too with a number of these new developments that you're seeing is having a commercial component to it. At the basin, that was one of the first things I did, was write them a letter saying, I hope you'll consider expanding your commercial footprint, because at the beginning they just wanted to do like 800 square feet. So that's always something that's on the back of my mind. But I agree with you. We need to be mindful of what we have for our tax base, and how we can get creative to support housing, but also, preserve our commercial as well.
The chairman and I have discussed this in the past, the fact that you heard earlier, the meeting we talked about, meeting with Chamber of Commerce
Yep.
relative to the downtown. You're certainly welcome to join us on
thank you.
Wednesday if you're available.
Yep.
I think that would be healthy.
Yes.
And what we're looking for is an honest answer.
Yep.
Part of it's communication, and we all have to work better at that. The fact that Sonny knows, as well as our good friends down at the hardware store, have been saying things. I'm not sure who they've been saying to, and I think that's a good a place we can start asking questions. Why isn't the information coming up to us? And well, you're welcome on Wednesday at 3:30 if you'd
thank
like
you.
to join us.
You'll see me
Appreciate
there.
it. Yeah.
Erin, this was so great. Thank you so much. I know you're doing so much work, and the council is doing such great work. So it was nice just to kind of hear where the ARPA money is going, but also the visuals were really helpful. I've not listened to the radio because I was out of town, but I'm going to listen to
All right,
it.
thank you.
You are now a radio celebrity, which is
Yes,
very
I am.
exciting. I have the same ask that I kind of said to Bill, and then I'm saying I'll say to Joe, but with our new town administrator starting, think about who you would love to introduce her to. As Jonathan said, we're here to support you in those conversations. I know you do it all on your own, but you just do so much. So, think about who Dee should be meeting some of the businesses, meeting some of the, especially, she probably knows some of the people at the state programs that but I would be really thoughtful. I think she wants to come in and be a leader, and looking at what, I know she wants to come in and be a leader, but she wants to, she gets excited about economic development, looking what they've done in North Andover, what we can take from North Andover and steal those ideas. But I think to be really deliberate about having her come and meet your council, and kind of, update her like you did. I'm sure she's watching right now, but, yeah, I think this is great. Anything else for Erin? And I really, I want to have these regularly because you are doing such great work. So we
Thank
will
you. Yeah.
schedule this
It's a
again in a
group
couple
effort.
of months.
And Marissa.
Is Marissa online?
Yeah, Marissa's online. Yeah.
Can you introduce
Yes.
Marissa to the council, please?
Oh, that was quick. Look at that. So I'm very happy. Marissa started about a month ago, and there she is. She, has come right in and has been a great help to not economic development, but planning work here in town. And so I'll let her kind of take the floor and introduce herself and kind of talk about the work that she did in Swampscott and what she's been working on already here in town.
Thank you, Erin. Good evening, everyone. My name is Marissa Meany. I am the new senior planner for the town of Wakefield. I started about a month ago. I came from Swampscott, where I spent the last 5 years working in the Community and Economic Development Office. I started off as the land use coordinator and then transitioned into the role as land use and development planner. So in my time there, I was working mostly with the 4 land use boards and commissions, planning and zoning, conservation, and the Historic District Commission, and then also assisting our community and economic it's a very wordy department if you haven't caught on to that already. Community and ComDev director in all of our town's ongoing plans and initiatives as well. So I'm excited to step into a larger role here and provide Erin with some of that additional support as well. I'm excited really at working for the opportunity to work in Wakefield because it is, as a community, poised for much more commercial activity, and it has the benefit of being able to take more advantage of some of the initiatives that were enacted at the state level, like 40R smart growth zoning, the MBTA community zoning, the accessory dwelling unit zoning, and even on a regional scale, Wakefield has many more peer communities that surround it, like Stoneham, Melrose, Reading, Woburn. Swampscott often felt like a little island amongst its neighboring communities like Lynn, Salem, PBD, Beverly, which are all much larger cities. So I think there's a lot more opportunity here in Wakefield for regional growth and collaboration that I didn't necessarily feel was as evident in Swampscott. So some of the things that I've started doing in my short time here thus far, Erin and I have already gotten into tackling some of those long-term planning plans, like the housing production plan and the master plan. We just received comments from the state for the housing production plan. So we will, luckily there are only some minor edits to be made. So we will get going on those. And then we have a working schedule with respect to edits for the master plan that was worked on, I think, starting in 2022 with the MAPC. We hope to have at least a clean draft of the finished product by the end of this calendar year. Sort of continuing on in Wakefield in a liaising role, I'm working with the Affordable Housing Trust, which is new to me, but also really excited to tap in more into the housing sector of planning. So I'm for the trust, I'm managing the WRAP program. That's the Wakefield Renters Assistance Program, which is the usage right now of ARPA funds that have been allocated to help residents transition into new apartments here in Wakefield, get them set up with first last month's rent and any first utility bills and moving costs, which is a great program, and it's been very well taken advantage of. And I'm excited to be working with the planning board as well, helping them right now, making sure that they have everything set for the upcoming fall town meeting with respect to the zoning recodification. And then starting in the new year, we'll be kicking off some more zoning reform initiatives that I'm excited to get moving on as well. So it's been great so far, and I'm really happy to be here, and I'm excited to meet and work with all of you in whatever way I can.
Great, thank you. So nice to meet you. Any questions or comments for Marissa?
Welcome on board.
Yeah, welcome. And I know the planning board
Thank you.
the planning board has reached out. They want to work on some of those bylaws you mentioned. And I asked the chair to wait until our new town administrator starts. But I think we'll hit the ground running on some of those proposed bylaws to look at everything in town. So we're super happy to have you on board and hope to meet you in person soon.
Madam Chair,
Thank
can I
you.
just
Thank
ask,
you.
not-
Likewise.
Not for today, but I'd love to have on a future agenda just an update from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. You know, what's going on with the RAP program, Marissa, for you and the trust fund members. I think that would be useful information for us to hear, not tonight, but in the future.
Nope, in the future. We will add that to a future agenda.
Certainly.
Anything else for Erin or Marissa?
Thank you. Great
Okay,
work.
thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Staying up late. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Moving on to item 7, approval of minutes.
Madam Chair, move to approve the Town Council minutes of September 8th, 2025, and the Town Council executive minutes of September 8th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye, 7-0. Great, thank you. Let's do announcements. And then I think you're going to fall under matters not anticipated. So just give us a second. Sorry.
So very
Announcements.
quickly, because I do want to get to that announcement, which is good news, I suspect. Just quickly, I wanted to highlight Wakefield is having a recovery and remembrance event in honor of Overdose Awareness Month next Tuesday, November 30th. That's going to be 5:30 to 6:30 at the Commons. So encourage people. Sorry, September. Why do I keep going ahead 2 months? So Tuesday, a week from tomorrow. At the Common. It really is an inspiring event. I've gone for the last couple of years and encourage everyone to come by. I'll be having office hours after that at the library, much less exciting, but hope you'll come visit as well. And just also wanted to put a plug in and a reminder that Town Day is hopefully on Saturday, weather permitting, if not on Sunday, but always a great time and hope to see lots of people there.
Any other announcements? Okay, moving on to matters not anticipated for the agenda. Thank you for sitting through our entire meeting.
Oh, no worries. I would sit through whatever to get to this point. So
Yeah.
I'm actually excited to talk about this. Joe Conway, Public Works Director. So I am here tonight just to give a really quick Reader's Digest of how most of Public Works spent their summer. Related to the ongoing trash strike that as of Friday has voted, it has ended, and then I can report that this morning we received the level of service to be expected that we had been receiving before the strike. So it seems like we are in the process of fully transitioning back over into our contracted vendor taking over. Really quick, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I was thinking at some point in time when all the dust completely settles, I could go into much more detail and actually introduce the council to a couple of the unsung heroes that were out there every day that really made this summer a success for us. But I just wanted to extend 2 thank yous really quickly. The first one to the residents out there in the general public, mostly for the patience, especially in the beginning, because this was something that was, we do these type of collections and things like that daily at a very small level, but this was something that was foreign to us. There's a little bit of learning. We were in some neighborhoods a little earlier than what, may have been custom, and we were definitely later in the beginning. So it was very appreciated that everybody was patient with us. The waters, the kind words, and things like that didn't go unnoticed. And then secondarily, to the whole Public Works team, I've said in this chair a bunch of different times that they make the difficult happen regularly. I'd be naive to say that this situation was set up to almost, be impossible. But I was blown away with how this went down and the level of service that they were able to assume as of July 1st when the strike happened. And then, we didn't skip a beat on some of our other work either. Everything slowed down a little bit, but there was nothing that we were intending to get done that didn't. So kudos to them. This will be something for me personally in my career. the people that I looked up to used to talk about the blizzard of '78 and the big challenges and things like that. This is going to be one of those war stories that, someday, hopefully, if I have a very long career, I'll be telling people and they'll be looking at me going, yeah, okay, I don't know about that. But just a rundown, because one of the things unique about this, so we were kind of intentionally quiet from the messaging standpoint, or unintentionally quiet, I should say. So we had heard that this strike may or may not happen sometime around the beginning of June. We have a good relationship with a lot of vendors and a lot of contacts out there. We knew that the vendors and the union were going back and forth. They weren't exactly seeing eye to eye. We were able to confirm that sometime around June 6th. And then at that point, myself and some of our managers sat down and basically started contingency planning. So we had a meeting, and one of the things that we put into place was, so let's generate Plan B, and then if Plan B doesn't work, let's generate Plan C. So that ended up happening. Fast forward a little bit of time, and then very late the night before July 1st, the union voted to go on strike, and we assumed collection the very next day, and we're off. The strike lasted 82 days. It was voted the 19th, which was Friday, to end. And then today, like I said, our vendors reassumed collection, and we hope that, one of the things we didn't know is, did they lose any employees? Did anybody change? Was there any retraining? So consciously, we put it into our plan to be in a state of, standby. So we would be ready this morning if there was a hiccup or a delay to go back out and just keep on doing our thing. But so far, so good. All signs point to us being able to fully transition out of that. But I think most impressive for me today, so during that whole period, this is an all hands on deck approach. So the one thing we did do was we were able to secure some rental trucks. We kept the drivers the same so they learned the routes, and we picked up efficiencies. And every day we went out and did this. I won't say we got faster, but we got much more efficient to the point where the staff is a very well-oiled machine now at this. Part of this, you had all of our full-time employees. And then seasonally, as the college kids gets out, we take on seasonal employees. They played a large role in this too. This was accomplished with mechanics, custodians, highway, parks division, water and sewer, buildings. Even yours truly got back in the saddle for a few days around July 4th just to handle the on-swell of what was going on. Because if you can imagine knowing that we were going to assume trash collection 3 days before 100,000 people come in to enjoy the festivities in Wakefield was probably the second worst time outside of like a major hurricane or a snowstorm. But like I mentioned, so out of the 82 days, we didn't have to delay anything. We had a preloaded message with Jen McDonald to go out in the beginning announcing the strike. And then we kind of left it with her that we need to get out there and start doing our thing. And then as we get a sense of what the timeline is and what our level of service is, we'll update accordingly as we go on. And very fast, they were able to pick up, and we didn't skip a beat. 0 delays, and nothing was cut. All the white goods got picked up on schedule. Bulk items were not missed. They may have been picked up a little bit later, but everything was done that was expected of the citizens, and it's a complete credit to the staff for making that happen. They made my job, at least to this point, very, very easy. So thank you to them. From this point, we'll be transitioning back over to our vendors, taking everything over, and then one of the questions we did get is, are you paying anything? What have you paid? To date, we've paid nothing. One of the things we do expect at some point in time is to have that conversation. And then when we do and we finalize this, obviously Public Works, and then we engage Tom very early, we'll be seeking to be made whole. And then when that concludes, if I'm welcome back, I'd like to go back and I can lay the whole thing out and get into much more detail. But that's kind of the fast 5 minutes, Reader's Digest or whatever it is. But I'd be more than happy to take any questions you might have now. If not, I can let you all get on and head back home.
Councilor Carney.
I just wanted, your folks did phenomenal.
Thank you.
That shows great leadership on your part, Joe. I compliment you that, and what you did was wonderful. I just want to give you a heads up in the fact what you might see, and the fact that I took over a company after a 60-day strike once, And what happens is people go out and get other jobs, and they don't want to give those jobs up, and I think they're going to work 2 jobs. So when you have a company that's depending on overtime, you might have a few problems there, having them gear up, and that's one of the issues of a post-strike situation. But I was really impressed with you. God bless you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So one of the things that we have been doing as time went on, one of the things that personally gave me a little angst was if this was to extend into the winter, what were we going to do if, let's say it snowed, and now simultaneously we have 2 major things going on at the same time. One of them is not going to be happening, and it's probably going to be trash. So with that, we were always thinking of the next steps, and then what's the plan for demobilizing ourselves and transitioning that back. So like you said, we're at a state now, if for some reason, there is a gap or there's a break or something happens that causes a delay, our intention is to still make sure that we're on schedule right where we need to be. And, hopefully we can pass this off relatively quickly.
Counselor Chines?
So I just want to echo the amazing job your team did. I mean, it really was impressive that, every day the trash was supposed to be picked up, it was picked up, for 82 days, as you mentioned. And that's a feat of just incredible dedication from the team, but also, a great deal of kind of planning and oversight from you and Ann and everyone on the DPW leadership team. So really thank you for that. I was wondering, you mentioned sort of the demobilization. Can you talk a little bit about what does that look like now? So you have a whole bunch of people that are used to doing other things that have been spending a lot of time doing trash pickup.
Yes.
Is there, delayed work that you guys need to get back on? Are there seasonal staff members that we kept on for longer than we expected that, need to roll off? Talk a little bit about what getting back to normal looks like for you guys.
No, so intentionally, with the exception of the first couple of days around the 4th of July, just because of the way that week unfolds naturally, we set it up and we had in a rotating schedule to mix and match so that one of our divisions wasn't overly taxed, or at least as minimally taxed from a personnel standpoint as they could be. So there might have been a day, you had a mechanic and a custodian and a driver, or you had a highway department employee, a parks division employee, and a driver,
or the
whatever.
DPW director.
Exactly, whatever it needed to be. And then, to try to ration that out proportionally so everybody had a piece of it. Many hands make light work, or at least, to be cliche, that's what we were hoping. And then the plan was, as soon as we knew, like this morning, we were ready to go out. And as soon as we knew that the vehicle showed up, that is the consistent level of service, they went out, started on the routes, and then, about an hour into the day, we realized, okay, this is going the way we expect it. We have a trash supervisor who's out every day. He's like coordinating, herding the sheep. So he's our boots on the ground, relaying all the information back and forth. Felt that he was totally comfortable and in control. So our staff went back to doing, the normal things that they would do. The taxing point, line painting was a little delayed. It's tough to work overnight when you just did 12 hours in the trash truck.
Yeah.
And you might be normally, used to working with a crew of 4 people. You might have 3. But, everything basically went as expected.
Counselor Butler?
I think you guys did do a phenomenal job. But of course, I'm going to get down to the money. So what are we penalized? I knew there was talk of penalizing Republic or holding back payment or they were subject to some fines in our contract. One is like how many days and what do we think that ballpark number is? And do we think we're going to recover that, or is that a negotiation? And then 2 is because they gave them, it was 46%, so they gave them a pretty big raise. When is our next contract up for Republic?
We are up to do an RFP sometime in 2026.
Okay.
Because we are covered until the end of fiscal 28. So we have about 2 years left.
Okay.
So, we'll probably be out, we're generally out about a year ahead of time, 8 months ahead of time, just because sometimes the transition takes long. As far as any financials or anything like that, I'll probably hold off on that for the moment.
Okay.
I could tell you that every day we have everything tracked and documented, and then in our contracts, there's certain provisions that may be applicable, they may not be. We're buttoning that up, dotting the i's, crossing the t's, and then as we see, something from the vendors, then we'll re-engage. Probably that'll be more heavily. Now the work for myself and probably Tom, unfortunately, will really start to begin. But
And Kevin, that might be, would we do, if he has to cover the overtime, we wouldn't do a reserve fund transfer in November, we'd just do it we'd make it up in.
If we needed the supplemental appropriation, we'd do it
In the spring. Okay. That's all from me.
good job. Thanks.
Counselor Fox?
So, Joe, I've heard so many good things about your guys. I talked to a few of them this weekend. The majority of people I've talked to said they like you guys doing it all the time.
Yeah.
So you did
I've
such a
heard that
good
a
job
couple times. Yeah.
that people want you guys to keep going. So
Yeah.
kudos to you.
Yeah, I mean, full transparency, aside from the capital acquisition cost it would take for the vehicles, there'd probably be some FTEs that you would need to do that. I do not have any understanding on what changes for the town's general liability and things like that.
No, but just more, they did such a good job that you didn't skip a beat. So people just knew to
Yeah.
expect your guys out there. So
I think for me, selfishly, that comment and then the comment that we got from folks along the way that they didn't know that there was really an ongoing problem were the two most self-satisfying to me. Because other people were doing the talking, we knew that we were doing it right.
Counselor Chines?
Just building off of Councillor Fox's comment, when we do get to the point where we do an RFP, we probably should look at what an insourced option looks like. And it may not make financial sense, but thinking of our due diligence when the contract is up, that probably is a question we should ask ourselves.
Absolutely, and the way those RFPs generally, in the two that I've done in my tenure here, at least at this level, we tend to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at it. That way, there's not any stone unturned. And then, from there, we develop the best plan for Wakefield from a service level and then the financial piece. So that's something that we'll certainly take a peek into, at least get a better understanding. So if we get the question, we at least know,
What would
the
it
answer.
take?
Exactly.
Anyone else? So Joe, please convey, I wrote you this in an email, but please convey our appreciation, thanks to your entire team, because it does
Absolutely.
sound like everyone stepped up. And then if you think about how, if there's individuals we should specially recognize, let's talk about that, how we can specially recognize them. And then we will see you back here when you have a better idea of the money, so you can answer Doug's question.
Yeah, absolutely. My intention would be finish everything up, and then I can give you a more detailed, kind of like an after-action update.
So
and then,
they took it on today. You haven't heard any complaints today?
They picked up my trash at 7 o'clock
They
this
did.
morning.
Yeah,
Okay.
not to my knowledge. So, like
Okay.
I said, our supervisor out in the street said everything was going the way they expected. One of the things we're very fortunate with, the drivers, at least to my understanding, as I'm sitting here, that typically work in Wakefield daily, all returned. They didn't go anywhere else, so it was the same familiar faces, which is nice because they already know the lay of the land and the routes, and it's just knocking some of the rust off for them. But
Great. Okay. Thanks, Counselor Chines. It's real-time information. So we'll see you again.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yes, I will keep you informed diligently as we go.
Thank you, and
All right.
thank you for sitting through the whole meeting.
Thank you.
No
It
worries.
just happened too late to get it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Great. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Great. Thank you so much. Our next meeting will be, our next regular town council meeting is Monday, October 6th. Thank you, everyone.